Well, we've got the big speech tonight for the President of the United States. It's going to air 8 o'clock right here on KCMO Talk Radio. And we are starting to get some leaks as to what it is going to be all about. And I will double down on the idea that Donald Trump needs to bring the receipts. He's got to show the goods tonight. There's no doubt about it. 6:04, good morning. Happy Thursday. Mayor Lucas will be here at 7:30. We'll have those Jason Aldean tickets at 8:15. And then again at 10:45, Ask Mundo Anything at 8:45. And then we've got Chris Stigall coming in at 9. Oh, yeah, Rick Brattin here at 8:15 as well. So tonight at 8 o'clock, you'll hear it right here on KCMO. The president is going to address the nation. And he's going to be talking about election interference from 2020. And where is he going to go? Straight to China. China is where he's going tonight. And according to multiple reports, CBS is the one I saw that had it first. Part of the speech tonight will touch on previously unreported Chinese meddling in U.S. elections. Some evidence shows Beijing compromised U.S. voter data, and evidence the CIA knew about the action and did not share that information with the president during his first term. Cabinet officials are expected to be in the audience during his remarks. Among those invited are heads of the CIA, FBI, DHS, as well as other agencies and staff. Some cabinet members will not be there due to scheduling conflicts. So that's what's going to be included in this speech tonight, according to multiple reports. Evidence that China interfered with the 2020 election to help Joe Biden win, including hacking into state voter registration databases, stealing information on tens of thousands of voters, ostensibly to manufacture mail-in ballots for Joe Biden. So what's the setup here? What's the point of all this? Because I think many more Americans are probably like, they have their opinion on the 2020 election. If you're going to change anybody's opinion on 2020, you better have the goods. And you better bring it. And there better be absolutely no gray area to any of this. Because if not, you're not going to change anybody's hearts or minds. You're just not going to do it. There is way too much out there on this. And let's be honest, you go to a place like Georgia where the state's run by Republicans. They've done multiple forensic audits and there was no there. But if this is about China, I just want to learn more because I don't trust the Chinese as far as I can throw them when it comes to that government, right? I mean, I don't know who would. But if the president's got stuff on China, then you know what? Roll it out, make it clear as day, and leave no room for interpretation. If he doesn't have that, then he's wasting his time. He's not using the bully pulpit effectively. Now, where else could he go tonight? He could go to an Iran update, considering the bombings are continuing and we're basically back to where we were a couple of months ago. He could go that route. He could go to, grocery prices, although I don't think that's getting touched tonight. I just don't. But this is all setting up, I believe, to try to pass some version of this Save America Act that's gotten an enormous amount of attention, right? And there just might be a breakthrough on all of this. And actually, of all people, Lindsey Graham, before he died on Saturday night, Sunday morning, may have been somebody who was setting this up behind the scenes prior to his death. Remember, the president said on Meet the Press right here on KCMO, it airs at noon on Sunday, the president said on Meet the Press that his last call with Lindsey Graham was on Saturday night. And Lindsey Graham told the president of the United States, quote, "We're all set for the Save America Act." The president didn't really explain how. He didn't say the why or the machination behind it. But John Thune spoke yesterday to the New York Post. And he said that Republicans may finally have a viable strategy to pass the Save America Act. So he said that may be ultimately what they are able to do. And how's he going to do it? Well, through basically Reconciliation 3.0. That's basically what the plan is here for the Republicans going into the fall. They think it's a little subjective, and John Thune admitted as much, because they can't pass this thing as a standalone piece of legislation. They can't get the United States Senate to get to 60 votes on this piece of legislation. They don't have the votes to do it. The Save America Act would require proof of citizenship to vote and other election reforms through the Senate. But it's just continued to fail. So what is the workaround here? If they can squeeze it in to the budget reconciliation process. Now, this is a gray area. Why? It's a gray area because it's not specifically tied to anything actually in the budget, right? It's policy oriented. It's not monetarily focused or oriented. But according to John Thune, what he told the New York Post is that it's got to be principally budgetary, not policy oriented. And if the budgetary impact is incidental to the policy impact, then it's usually ruled a violation. He goes on the note to the New York Post, I'm not denying that there's some level of subjectivity. There is. But if they think that they can get something through that's somehow tied to the budget process, yes, very much a gray area, then they believe they'll be able to potentially put it in a reconciliation package. And how might they tie it to a budgetary issue? How about this? Figure out a way to incentivize states to pass or implement photo ID in their states through financial incentives. That is what could possibly make the Save America Act a reconciliation option, where it goes through this process that doesn't necessarily need 60 votes because it's jammed into all these budget issues that just pass on a simple majority. Now, there may be Republicans that balk at this, by the way. It may not be something that has the votes on the GOP side. They've got, a 2-3 vote majority on the Republican side now in the Senate, so they don't have a lot of room for error either. But if there's a way that they can get it done, that's how they see it being possible. And the question then becomes, if they get it done, would any of these deep blue states that don't really have, let's be honest, the strongest elections, would they be financially incentivized to pass or implement photo ID? Could basically the federal government buy off states? California comes to mind. Could you buy them off to implement photo ID? And how much would it take? That's the other question. We're $40 trillion in debt. The idea of a state negotiating with the federal government to pass photo ID, the whole concept to me is beyond bizarre. Frankly, I'm not really convinced it's worth the money in a place like California. I'm not. I know everyone thinks like Spencer Pratt would have won. Yeah, I'm not buying that. Okay, I'm not. Do I think there's sketchiness in some of these cities? Absolutely. But, by the way, this doesn't prevent some of that sketchiness from continuing on at lower levels. So how many of these states actually have the ability to start turning things around versus how much is it just hopelessness and throwing money out the window? All of that is for further down the road, but that is what tonight's speech, I believe, will be setting up. And you will hear it right here on KCMO Talk Radio, 8 p.m. The President of the United States will be addressing the nation. 913-408-7957. And then, what you want to hear as well. That's the other part of this that we'll be weaving in throughout the morning right here on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up, this organization in Kansas City wants to unionize. Oh, gosh. Just when you start to feel good about a guy, he decides to kick you in the nuts. Unbelievable. We'll tell you who and why next.
Hey, Kansas City, I'm McGraw-Milhaven, your host of America at Night. President Trump speaks to the country tonight, and we'll have analysis afterwards. Coming up at 8 o'clock only on 95.7 FM.
We will. We'll just miss the start of McGraw's show tonight for that speech from the president. I don't know if it's going to be. I think it's going to be pretty tight. Usually when they interrupt primetime programming for a speech like this, Trump's not going to do a State of the Union. I think he's going to go, I would set the over-under at 16 and a half minutes. Maybe 17 and a half, just to be safe with the big guy, you know? By the time he's done getting his little Trumpisms in there and a couple of weaves, we're probably at 17 and a half. So after that, we'll get back to McGraw-Milhaven, America at Night. Hey, he's coming to Kansas City. The whole gang is Vince Colonnese, Sky Benson, McGraw-Milhaven, myself, and Keatsman. Tickets are selling quickly. We're over halfway sold out. We just announced it a couple of weeks ago. Our America 250 event happening at Boulevard Brewing on Wednesday, September 16th. Tickets are on sale right now at KCMOTalkRadio.com. So the streetcar had itself a big month, right? Because we had this once-in-a-generation thing called the World Cup. So now, enter the propaganda push. Enter the, I'm not being paid enough. I must unionize. That's what's happening now with the streetcar. There is a push from streetcar employees to unionize. KSHP 41 had the story last night, and let's work through it.
I'm an operator, and so I'm in the cab, ding, 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 honking at people if, you know, they're...
Oh, boy. Ding, ding, baby. Ding away. Ding-a-ling.
Sitting on the tracks like they're not supposed to be or stuff like that.
10-hour shifts. Jared loves his job.
We get to see the city like nobody else gets to see it.
He can also tell
Packed.
people love to ride.
If we continue to grow, I think it's important that we have guarantees. We want to make sure that we have consistent, scheduled, some sort of breaks. Our breaks aren't guaranteed.
You have a voice in the workplace if you just stand up.
That's where Teamsters 955 President Jerry Wood comes in.
Oh, okay. So now we got the Teamsters hucksters involved here is what we've got. So this whole story is getting set up by the fact that, you know, as KSHB notes, nearly 700,000 riders used the streetcar last month, a dramatic jump from 162,000 riders in June of 2025. Okay, so we 5x streetcar riders because of this once-in-a-lifetime event. Great. I mean, that's fantastic. But that's not the regular. Like, that's not how this works. That's like a Major League Baseball player having 1 month where he hits 15 home runs in a month, which if you extrapolate that over, you know, a 6-month baseball season would be 90 home runs in a season. Obviously, that's never going to happen. He has 1 great month with 15 home runs. He hits 22 home runs on the season. And he says, yeah, but that month, I want my payday. I want my 25, 30, 35 million bucks a year because I'm a slugger. It's like, well, no, you had 1 good month because a bunch of guys served you up some meatballs. That's the analogy here. And now we got to get this big push from the streetcar. Listen, I want these guys to make money. I want them to make a fair wage, but you don't use the month of the World Cup as reason for why you're getting shafted on your pay.
You know, you did a ride-along with the cops once. Maybe you could do a ride-along on the streetcar. I'm thinking, how difficult is it?
Well, you know what? It's funny you say that.
Because I would go nuts traveling back and forth for 10 hours.
I would,
at that
too.
speed.
Hey, I don't envy it. I'll say you that
get to
right
the
now.
airport and ride on the moving sidewalk back and forth, right?
Tom Gerend is the guy who runs the streetcar here in Kansas City. I believe I got his last name right. He has wanted to bring me down there for a ride-along, and we've exchanged notes over the last couple of months. I just really, admittedly, haven't had time. He's the executive director of the streetcar, and I will take him up on it. I've got a little vacation coming up. I will take him up on it as we get into post-primary season, back into kind of our regular routines. I will get down there because he's dying to get me down there for a ride-along. The problem is he wants to bring the kids. And I don't want to get, I don't want, I'm sure Tom's a great guy. I don't need him mushing my kids trying to find my weak spots and soft spots to, soften me on the streetcar. I can't have that. So I told him I'll go down there in a professional capacity, no kids.
The girls are going to get on there and they're going to start going.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh my gosh.
She's a real beauty.
This is too much.
I mean,
Too much.
kids love trains.
I know. They do. All right, let's continue here with Channel 41's piece on wanting to, well, they don't want it, but the streetcar drivers, they now want to unionize.
He plans to represent 70 streetcar employees.
They're growing quickly.
And every minute counts.
But if we're busy and that car's running 9 minutes late, that layover period at UMKC is gone, which cuts into a bathroom break, which cuts into your lunch break.
They want to see a pay increase and firm set break times.
Not many people know that we work for a company called Herzog. We don't work for the city. We don't work for the streetcar authority.
I called Herzog's Kansas City GM. He said they won't be answering any of my questions. The KC Streetcar Authority says it values its employees and respects the ongoing legal process. Streetcar workers will vote to make the union official next month. If that passes, then contract negotiations begin.
I don't think it's a question of if it's going to happen. I think it's a question of when it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen. When streetcar grows, employees can also grow as well.
Well, are the employees not growing? They start them at about $24 an hour, which is about $49,000. That's what they're making on average. That's before overtime and anything else. There are health benefits, dental benefits, everything else. I want people to make money. A lot of you are asking on the text line, Pete, is there any union that you like? I can't think of one, but I've been in a union. I was in the broadcasting union because I had to be when I was working in New York City radio. I had no choice. The SAG-AFTRA union. And it was a joke. It was an absolute, utter joke because it's not based on merit. When you get into that setting, let me rephrase the answer. I don't mind unions for jobs when you're putting your life on the line. Police union, I understand that. There are certain jobs that I get it, right? Because you need certain protections when it comes to your life within that union. But even then, I think sometimes the police union's too strong. I think the fire union is too strong. I mean, remember that guy who drove into the building in Westport? And I understand that you got to defend your guys, but sometimes you got to throw in the towel. And they were even having to defend that guy when he had a ton of issues with his driving record. It's like at some point, you got to figure out when to cut bait. But that's not what unions do inherently. And it's even really tough to get rid of some people who are, public servants, supposedly. Fire, cop, when they're just not good at their jobs. Sometimes, yes, it does backfire even in those positions. So generally, I'm just not fans of them, by and large. But I understand why sometimes they do need to exist. So I think the mindset generally of unions are not good for creating robust, competitive work environments. I don't. And using 1 month of the World Cup to be like, this is why we need to unionize as streetcar employees, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I will ask Mayor Lucas when he's coming up on the show here at 7:30 whether or not the real play and the real plan is they want to become city employees. Because that's where the money's at. If you can get your hands on the pension from City Hall, that changes the game. And I think that's the end game here for the streetcar employees. I think that's going to be what they're going for. So we'll see.
Ding, 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 ding.
913-408-7957. Jeez. Mark, you're killing me. News coming up in 2 minutes. I'm still licking my wounds from yesterday. I'll explain next.
The fun's not done after Mundo in the Morning. Hey, it's Kevin Keatsman. Join me for Uncanceled at 10 o'clock right here on KCMO Talk Radio.
Well, I didn't get it done yet, but man, I got emails, I got text messages yesterday. I got a lot from many of you when I simply said in passing in the 9 o'clock hour yesterday, I need to go get a hole put in this belt buckle that I've got. And oh my goodness, you would have thought I said the most taboo thing I've ever said on this show. I could spend 4 hours crushing Donald Trump, and I'm not sure I would have gotten the same amount of garbage I got from some people yesterday. All I need is a hole in the belt buckle. And I guess for some, it wasn't good enough that this belt buckle I have here is not like, from Walmart. It's from Italy. It was a gift from Kate, 15 years ago. So I wanted to make sure that someone did it professionally. And it's like I didn't want to screw in my own light bulb or something, John. Jeez.
Yeah, initially you didn't mention the part about it being a gift and that kind of thing, so I can understand your point.
Yeah, okay.
However, out here in the Midwest, we simple folk, you got a piece of rope or twine, that can be a belt. So we improvise, adapt, and overcome.
I understand. I mean, if I'm just going out and doing something casual, this belt doesn't always get the most attention, but I've worn the belt for more or less 15 years, and I have done nothing to it, and it's in perfect condition.
Well, I was going to say, I need a belt. Yours is a fashion statement.
Oh, my gosh. I did not expect a literally 60-second commentary to get the blowback that it got yesterday. I was really looking to just get a shout out to a small business owner who, does some leather work or something, and it ends up with me getting roasted by half the audience on the show.
Yeah, suddenly it turns into an episode of King of the Hill. We're all out by the dang-old fence there.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, anyway, I got to get it done. Haven't done it yet, but I appreciate many of you wanting to give me a hard time over it. I can take it, okay? Anything that you give me a hard time over here is not even close to what I get to when I walk in my own house. Lovingly, but listen, you got 3 daughters. I mean, Mark does, but I guess every age is different. Every age has its pros and cons, but right now, man, I feel like I'm taking the brunt of it. It's brutal.
You are just the distribution manager there, right? All the problems come to you.
And not just distributing things, but also the distribution of emotions and who's handling whose tears.
Fairness.
And yes, oh my gosh, it's just so much different than boys. It really is.
Of course, as we say, there's one thing worse than being talked about.
Yeah,
and that's
true.
Not being talked about.
That's a good point there, John. It is. Now, I got to give credit. This World Cup yesterday, the last couple of days, great semifinals. But yesterday, all-time game, Argentina coming back to beat England 2-1. Is there a sports analogy that you could make? I mean, this is not the Patriots coming back to beat the Falcons where they're down 28-3. I mean, it was a 1-0 game, so it's not 28-3. But the way that they scored those 2 goals as late as they did, right? That's what makes this a wild game yesterday.
Maybe like the Chiefs' first Super Bowl that they won.
Okay.
Things like that.
Okay. All right. That's a good analogy. What, down 10 points in the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
I was going to say there's a comparison seemingly with the team. When you have one of the great ones, you can afford those types of performances, and they're so exciting when they happen. But sometimes they run out.
Yeah. I mean, that was unbelievable yesterday.
They've done it twice in the tournament.
So now it's going to be Argentina and Spain on Sunday in New Jersey for this World Cup final. And I guess, I don't know if Argentina's coming back to River Market. They've been base camped right here in Kansas City. I don't know if they're just going right up to New York. Do we know if they're done in Kansas City?
I think they're done now.
Okay, so they're done here.
I believe England's coming back because they have a third place.
They returned
game.
last night.
Okay, so they got to pack their bags, go back to New Jersey for the finals, but England's back here. They're playing in a third-place game. By the way, does that third-place game have any juice on Saturday?
Oh, man, I'm telling you, the kiss your sister dance there.
It's really...
Nobody cares.
I don't get
The
it.
2 countries don't like each other. Neither one of them want to be there.
Yeah.
It get testy.
That's France and England in the third-place game on Saturday, the finals on Sunday. And by the way, there's all these wildfires up in Canada right now. that are impacting the East Coast in a major way. They've got horrible, horrible air quality right now. So I don't know how that's going to impact, especially the finals on Sunday, which is being played in New Jersey in an outdoor stadium at MetLife where the Jets and the Giants play. So it's just something to watch. I mean, you've got the best soccer players on the planet, and there's just this fog and this smog that's sitting on top of the entire Northeast right now because they've got these wildfires happening up in Canada. So there's no way they move or adjust the game. I just can't possibly see that happening. But if you're a diehard soccer fan, it is something to keep an eye on. Now, I got to give Mark credit because Mark showed us a post of his on X from 2 years ago. Mark dug up a 2-year-old X post. And Mark, you predicted this World Cup championship 2 years ago. Why don't you share what you posted and the date that you posted it, please?
Yeah, July 14th, 2024, I said you could do a futures bet, Argentina versus Spain in the World Cup finals.
Wow.
Eye emoji.
Literally almost 2 years ago to the day.
Mm-hmm.
That was July of 24. I mean, most people are talking about how Trump just got shot in the ear, and Mark's like doing World Cup futures bets, 700 days in advance. That sounds about right.
What he's working on now.
Yeah.
Which they wouldn't let you actually do that bet at the time. I remember I kind of looked into it, and they're like, oh, you have to figure out if they're going to actually qualify for the World Cup and what group they're going to be in and all that.
So you couldn't even do that?
No, not 2 years ago.
It's really a wild shot, yeah.
But, hey, man, that's a great job by you. That's impressive. And then got to give your wife some credit as well. Did she pick Spain or Argentina?
So when we first launched the FanDuel in Missouri.
Yes.
We went over across state line, and they had just announced the group stages. So we did our NFL free pick bet, and then we also put money on teams for the World Cup. And she picked Argentina and Spain.
Wow.
And I picked France and Netherlands. Womp womp.
Okay. Hey, you weren't far off with France. But look at that. You got the wife smoking you on the sports betting.
I know. I'm fine with it, though. She'll get the money, and it's fine.
Yeah, well, yes. It all goes to the same bucket, all right? But still, that's impressive, man. 2 years ago, you're tweeting. Now, I will say, you're tweeting to other radio hosts in Kansas City, which kind of upset me. But you're tweeting to other radio hosts in Kansas City on the sports side about, World Cup futures bets 2 years ago. And you nailed the finals, Argentina versus Spain. That is wild. If you're not hanging around this fall for Fridays when Mark gives a parlay on this show tied to the Chiefs games, you are missing out on free money getting put right into your back pocket. It's unbelievable.
College pick'em program.
Yes.
Sunday sharps, everything. It's going to be back.
It is absolutely going to be back. No doubt about it. Now, Mayor Q is feeling himself right now. I don't know if have you seen this trend on social media where people do like their little Netflix documentary sit down? Have you seen that? Everyone's like doing their own. I saw Dave Ramsey team do this. Mayor Lucas is doing this. It's kind of this thing where, how every Netflix documentary has that same little intro, that little instrumental. And if you pull it up, Mark, on YouTube, the Netflix documentary instrumental, everyone's going to know it. And then what they do is when they're doing a documentary, everybody kind of they come off the screen, enter the screen, sit down in a chair with this little Netflix instrumental playing in the background. So people are playing off of that. Like Dave Ramsey's daughter, Rachel Cruz, did a sit down, and it's just a social media kind of craze that's happening right now. And yes, there it is. It's actually brilliant. And it's getting Netflix a lot of added publicity because they definitely need more of that, right? But Mayor Lucas posted this on social media yesterday, and it's him sitting down in his office with that little Netflix backdrop going. And it reads here, me sitting down for the Netflix documentary about the smallest host city that pulled off 6 World Cup matches. He writes here, breaking, local city gets global matches, does better than every other market. So he's feeling himself right now. There's no doubt this World Cup has been good for Kansas City, right? But we can't overlook the fact that we had multiple mass shootings as well in the last few weeks. One on the interstate. You had the one at, 18th and Vine. You have complaints here coming through Tony's Kansas City that KCPD ghosted neighborhoods and left them to rot while they played nanny for FIFA. So there are complaints coming from the folks. Real, legitimate complaints coming from the folks. But the city's putting a very positive spin on things. And I'm not here to say that they shouldn't to some degree, okay? That's partially their job. But just like the Trump administration, you don't want to get cocky about this stuff, because the second you get cocky, you're going to get brought back down to earth. So we'll recap that. We'll talk about it with Mayor Lucas here on KCMO at 7:30. And I also got to ask him about the streetcar unionizing and if they really just want to be city employees, because I don't think that story's going away either.
Ding, 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 ding.
Coming up next, our top 6 stories in the 6 o'clock hour. We call it the 6 at 6 here on KCMO. In the meantime, you might be getting up this morning and realizing there's a call that you need to make because you're sick of the windows being rusted out. You're sick of the siding looking like garbage outside of the house when you're having family and friends over for a gathering this summer. CMP Construction is the first and only call to make. They install Andersen windows. They're locally owned, locally operated here in Kansas City. And we've been partners with them now for several months. And yeah, most of their work is kitchens, bathrooms, basements, full remodels. They'll do all that as you start thinking about the fall. But there's a time sensitivity to siding and windows, and that's the weather. So if you're looking around outside, you had a gathering this past weekend, and you're like, I've got to handle the siding. Now's the time to do it. Reach out to CMP Construction, and the best way to do it is their website. It's cmpremodel.com. They have a request and estimate button there in the top right, and they're giving free estimates to KCMO Talk Radio listeners. That's not something they typically do because they don't need everybody and their mother calling them. But for this audience, they're doing that. They're not a big corporate remodeler. They're locally owned, family run by Chris and Teresa, who are longtime KCMO Talk Radio listeners. So make them number one in your book. All right. You can see their work at cmpremodel.com. See the kitchens, the bathrooms, the basements, whole house remodels, the room additions. They do it all. cmpremodel.com. That's cmpremodel.com.
Vince Colonnese here. Join me for your lunch hour from 11 to 2 on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
6:50 on a Thursday morning. It is so great to have you here on KCMO Talk Radio. It is that time of the morning. Let's roll it.
It's time for the 6 at 6 on KCMO Talk Radio. Number 1.
Top of the list, let's go to Clay County, where 7 men were arrested in a sting operation after attempting to engage in sexual acts with teenage girls. Clay County Sheriff's Office Special Victims Unit conducted child enticement operations in June and July. Undercover detectives posed as 15-year-old girls. The detectives engaged in online conversation with men who asked to meet for sex. And when the men arrived at the meetup spots, they were eventually arrested. 6 of the 7 men are from the Kansas City area. 1, Reginald J. Pittman Jr., is on the sex offender registry for a previous 2022 case involving a 14-year-old. He was released from prison in August of 25 and is currently on probation. So all of these guys, and he's from Shawnee. The other guys, KCK, St. Joe, KCMO. Let's see. Marvin R. Carrillo Munoz, Charles A. Farmer, William C. Grandy, Philip E. Rivera II, Donald D. Robinson. He's the only guy outside of Kansas City. He's from Louisiana. And then Stephen S. Taylor, 48 of Raytown, all arrested yesterday. Good job by the Clay County SVU.
Number 2.
All right, next up in our 6 at 6, that Midtown Costco that's getting so much attention would likely close if the city does not approve changes to its Midtown warehouse and allow it to become a business center. This after a meeting that took place yesterday. In order to change the outside of the building, they're looking to change a corner of it to add shipping docks, which require city approval. There will be no more pharmacy or food court, and liquor sales would also go away from the Midtown Costco. Obviously, there's been pushback from residents, but yesterday the City Planning Commission voted 6-1 to approve this request. This Costco will still have all the grocery items. Once again, it just won't have the food court, the pharmacy, or the liquor. Costco will cater more to small businesses if the city council approves, but they'll still sell fresh and frozen produce, dairy products, packaged meats, and eggs. They would drop the workforce from 250 to about 90, but eventually go back up again.
Number 3.
Next up in the 6 at 6, let's go to, oh gosh, this story continues to get so much attention. The number of cases of people with a diarrhea-causing parasite has risen in the state of Kansas. I feel like we're not actually doing COVID all over again, but the way that people are giving daily updates on the number of cases, we've gone from 25 cases in Kansas to 55 cases of cyclosporiasis. 50 cases across Kansas, John.
Am I supposed to mask up for that? I can't get it to fit. It's a little uncomfortable.
Well, you can mask up your bottom. I think that might be the best way to do it.
You
know, that's, oh, gosh. Yeah.
Gee, this N95 does this make my butt look big?
I saw there were some great memes of AI generated photos of Anthony Fauci in a Taco Bell outfit being like, I think the cyclosporiasis is coming from the farmer's market down the street, stuff like that. So the CDC reports as of July 13th, a couple of days ago, 13,000 people, 141 people. I was reading this July 13th, 141 people have been hospitalized due to the parasite around the country. So it's getting a lot of attention. It's coming from obviously fresh fruit and vegetables. And not that you needed another reason to eat some Oreos instead of something green, but I guess for some people, this will do it. All right, we'll keep it rolling. What is next in our 6 at 6?
Number 4.
Well, let's go to KCI, to the airport, where last night, passengers on an Alaska Airlines flight from Seattle to KC got a scare as the plane experienced an engine fire as it was landing. The plane, a Boeing 737 MAX 9, departed Seattle at 8:31 Central Time, arrived at KC 5 minutes ahead of schedule just before midnight, 11:54. An alert went out to the Kansas City Fire Department shortly before midnight, basically saying that there was a fire on this plane or with this plane. They pulled in, they took care of it. The incident was handled and closed at 12:21 this morning, where everything was under control. So no injuries, no issues, but certainly a bit of a scare for that Alaska Air flight coming in from Seattle late last night, early this morning.
Number 5.
The President of the United States will address the nation tonight. That is an 8 o'clock start time for Donald Trump, where it is expected, according to CBS and a couple other outlets, it is expected that President Trump will spend part of the speech tonight touching on previously unreported Chinese meddling in U.S. elections. Some evidence shows Beijing compromised U.S. voter data and evidence the CIA knew about it, but did not share the information with the president during his first term. Cabinet officials are expected to be in the audience during his remarks, along with the heads of the CIA, FBI, and DHS. So expect that to be part of President Trump's speech tonight, 8 o'clock. You will hear it right here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 in Kansas City and 102.9 FM in Topeka.
Number 6.
And last up in our 6 at 6. Did you see that video over the weekend of the bison in Yellowstone that threw a man 8 feet in the air? That was some video. Well, the guy got seriously injured in this viral attack. We learned yesterday the bison will not be euthanized after park officials confirmed the wild animal will remain in the park despite the encounter. Yellowstone officials said that no management action will be taken against the animal, according to who had it first? TMZ. Of all you got TMZ. I mean, they're doing it all, man. Whether it's Spencer Pratt, Michael Jackson dying, or, euthanizing bison at Yellowstone. They are on top of their game. TMZ had it first. There are your top 6 stories in the 6 o'clock hour here on KCMO Talk Radio. A Facebook group is growing influence around Kansas City. Who and why? Next. just to show you the power of social media in 2026, a Kansas City Facebook group got some of the biggest power players in the city to the table on Monday night at a gathering that they put on in person. The Facebook group is one I'm a part of. It's got over 20,000 members in it, called The Real Kansas City. And I'm going on the page right now at 7:04 on a Thursday. Good morning. Thanks for starting your day here on KCMO. Because I want to get this group back into my news feed, because I feel like I don't see their stuff all that often. I don't understand it. I'll save my Facebook algorithm rant for another day. I don't know why I see half the crap I do on Facebook anymore. It's like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I see a bunch of stuff and I'll interact with, and then it disappears.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where'd that go?
Or you accidentally click on something and now your feed is nothing but that something you accidentally clicked on.
Yeah, there's certain politics things. I'll put a thumb down or something, and now it thinks I want to see more.
So they had, and the Kansas City Star wrote about this. It was Monday that a bunch of people showed up, courtesy of this Facebook group, The Real Kansas City. 70 business owners gathered at the invitation of the founder, Matt Alexio, is I believe how you pronounce his name. I believe I met Matt at the bar at Jasper's one night. It was probably 12 to 18 months ago. I was there. I think Kate and I were there for a dinner, and I think it was Matt who was at the bar, and we had a nice conversation, and he was a very pleasant guy, and he's kicking butt with this Facebook group, bringing a lot of attention to things that need to be addressed in Kansas City that we talk about here on KCMO, not to be a complainer, but just to be a voice of the people that, frankly, too often your local media, especially on TV, just doesn't touch. Why they don't touch it, well, that's a separate conversation, but they don't. So this Facebook group, The Real Kansas City, has gotten a lot of attention, and now they've got the juice to get some very influential people in politics to the table. And that's what they did on Monday. So it was pretty impressive. You had a bunch of civic leaders who were out there. KCPD Chief Stacey Graves, council members like Wes Rogers, Rihanna Parks Shaw. They, of course, both want to be the next mayor. Jackson County Executive candidate Dan Tarwater was there, and a bunch of other high-level KCMO officials like Diana Knapp, who is the city's corrections and rehabilitation efforts leader as well. So a lot of people are there, and they're just sharing with Kansas City leaders some of the issues that currently exist, and good on them. Because as much as we're, excited about the World Cup and what it may ultimately do for Kansas City, all that is great. I'm not poo-pooing any of it. I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade. But in the end, there are still basic things that need to be done and need to be taken care of. Like what's going on with the jail, which, by the way, is no longer being called the World Cup jail, because guess what? It didn't even open in time for the World Cup. Remember, we were supposed to have this temporary jail set up, and it's still delayed. It's not close to opening because the city has only hired about a third of the 79 employees that they need to staff it. And the qualifications, basically, if you've got 2 arms and 2 legs and you can see and you can move and you can operate, they'll hire you. Literally. The Kansas City Star says that the qualifications are modest. That's how they frame it in the Kansas City Star. Applicants must be at least 18, have a high school diploma, pass a drug test, and not have what city leadership called a ridiculous rap sheet. You can you can have a rap sheet. You just can't have a ridiculous rap sheet. Their words. I mean, geez. They're begging people to apply for these jobs at the temporary jail.
Well, it's only against the rules because it takes a second page off the printer. Trying to keep track of the budget down there.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want to cut down too many trees to be printing out the resumes with lengthy rap sheets. So they're like, just keep the rap sheet to 1 page and you got a shot. You got a shot for the job.
So just this year?
Yeah,
you mean?
yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Nothing last year?
Yeah, anything after January 1st of 26, put on the resume for your rap sheet. Pre-January 1, just leave it off. We don't care. I mean, and they can't find anybody to fill these jobs at the temporary jail they want to set up. Now, forget the permanent jail. That's even further out. Of course, remember, you, the Kansas City voter, you approved a public safety sales tax to fund it last year. But it's still at least 40 years away from opening up. Construction is still at least 18 months away because the city first has to relocate the adjacent tow lot. So that timeline, according to the Kansas City Star, drew audible groans. People are exhausted. Yes, the World Cup was great for certain businesses in certain parts of town. But now it's back to the basics. It's back to business as usual. It's back to doing the basics well. And that's why there is a lane, and I don't know who this person is. And we've got a lot of runway till we get to this point in time. But there is a lane for somebody in this town to run for mayor as a Democrat. I don't think any Republican can ever win the mayor's race in Kansas City. But as a Democrat who is going to just do the basics and focus on the basics, and some may say that's conservative policy. I don't think it is. I think it's just good old-fashioned common sense. And, when a Facebook group like this, The Real Kansas City, has the juice to get people out to events, city leadership, mayoral wannabes out to events and roundtables, and the KCPD chief, that's a big deal. And I'm glad they've got that juice because they're the voice of the people right now. I mean, I really believe that when it comes to social media groups in this town holding elected officials accountable, no one does it better. And they're making a lot of noise. Now, the Kansas City Star did try to, poo-poo on them a little bit, playing the conspiracy theory card. Well, if you go through the page, there are some conspiracy theories on this group's page, The Real Kansas City. Stop. Okay? No, that's not true. They write here, people blame the mayor for a police department he doesn't control. Enough of that. I mean, how many times is the Kansas City Star going to roll out that lame excuse? You know what? Here's something that does need to be brought up ahead of next year's mayor's race. I will ask every single candidate, if they get elected, they better not sit and complain about the system of the KCMO Police Department, where, yes, there's an appointed board by the governor of Kansas City residents to oversee the police department. The mayor also sits on that board of police commissioners. But you can't run for mayor and then complain about the system that you willingly ran to be a part of. You just can't. I don't want to hear from the next mayor about, because Sly James did it. Listen, Quinton does it once in a while too. I don't want to hear it. You ran knowing the rules of the game. And then pointing the finger at the rules of the game that you willingly wanted to be a part of is just, it's exhausting, and it's lame political finger pointing is what it is. The Star goes on to note, people also blame City Hall for county property assessments or homelessness on local officials who are confronting a national problem with limited resources. Yes, if only Kansas City got a big lump sum of money from the federal government, they could solve homelessness by next week. Come on, please. That's not happening. You know that, and I know that. That is in no way happening. Anyone, who's been around for 5 minutes knows that we're not one big check away from solving the homeless crisis by putting everybody in a tiny home. Enough of that, please. Enough. Mayor Lucas is coming up at 7:30 on KCMO. 1 hour from now, we'll give away those Jason Aldean tickets. He'll be at Morton Amphitheater next Saturday. So that's at 8:15. And Ask Mundo Anything coming up at 8:45 right here on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up next, do you see what the Secretary of War announced? What they're going to be testing our military men for? Yeah, they're all in. They're all in. Get ready, boys. The tests are coming. We'll share it with you coming up right here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Of course, it's right in the middle of summertime. My sprinklers went off again this morning. I'm like, they just went off yesterday. What's going on here? But what does that mean? More time outside, more cookouts, more family gatherings. And if you've got sinking or uneven concrete and you're worried about, your Aunt Karen tripping at your next family cookout, KC Pier will help you make sure, and by the way, save you money where you don't have to replace the concrete around the house. They'll just level everything out for you with their polyjacking service. Now, this can be a problem around Kansas City, especially right now. We had a lot of rain this spring. We've got this clay soil. And as a result, these concrete slabs are shifting, settling, and creating problems on driveways, sidewalks, patios, porches, and steps. So before that next backyard party or family get-together, have KC Pier come out and take a look. Let them help eliminate those trip hazards and keep the focus on doing what you want to do, which is making memories, not worrying about someone getting hurt. All right? Schedule that assessment today. Go to kcpier.com where somebody in Kansas City picks up the phone when you call them. That's kcpier.com.
from the nation's heartland. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
I'm surprised that, honestly, this wasn't already happening. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, Secretary of Defense, whatever you want to call him, he made the announcement yesterday that if you are serving and you're over the age of 30, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to test you for testosterone. They're going to test your T levels. And people were like, gosh, some people are just looking for any reason to complain. I don't get it. Here he was yesterday.
But while we invest heavily in our weapon systems, platforms, and gear, our most decisive tactical advantage will always be the individual warfighter. We have a sacred duty to maintain that advantage, which is why we must constantly look for new ways to optimize your performance, your resilience, and your long-term health. And to meet that commitment today, I'm authorizing a new screening program for testosterone deficiency for our service members, ensuring you have the right testosterone levels to operate at your absolute best. Because it's well-established science that as we age, testosterone levels often naturally drop.
It's a fact. And by the way, as I said on social media yesterday when I saw this story, the guy should be using Heartland Men's Health here in Kansas City with 3 locations, Overland Park, Independence, and North KC. That's my recommendation to Pete Hegseth. All right? I mean, when I hear from the guys in Kansas City who are going there, they're having great results. Now, I went there, got my T tested, and they said, whoa, Pete, yours is a little too high. So, they were blown away. But I understand it does happen to guys as they age. So it makes sense. You've got, and you want to have the best military on the planet. Well, you know what? What's wrong with this? I mean, some people just want any reason to complain about something that's going on with the administration. And the problem then is they become the boy who cried wolf. Like, there might be a reason to complain coming out of tonight's speech that's going to air at 8 p.m. on KCMO. I don't know. The reports are there's going to be stuff about China meddling in the 2020 election. I hope if that's where they go, Trump brings the receipts, he brings the goods. There's no gray area. There's no debating it. It's clearly black and white. All right? If he doesn't do that, I think he's just going to create more chaos than it's worth. But Pete Hegseth saying, hey, we're going to test the troops for testosterone deficiency. Well, why not? Heck, I might start doing that on this show. Come to think of it, I think that's a damn good idea. Mark's flexing right now on the other side of the glass. John just took a bite of his Oreo. So, 2 different approaches to the whole thing. Mark, I gotta see you hit that weight room, though. I really do. I want to make sure those T levels are where they need to be, okay?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Got my membership over there at the Olathe Community Center.
All right.
So let's go.
All right, let's go. Let's see those bicep curls in full form. I want to see it. It's like, man, troops under 30 can volunteer to be tested, but those over 30 are going to be required to be tested. Now, I'll add this as well, because some people were like, I don't even know where this stuff comes from. I really don't. But some people, when they were talking about this, and I got this in my mentions too. Oh, Pete, you're now advocating for gender-affirming care. Well, what? No, here's the difference. I only want dudes, okay? I just want guys to have the proper levels of testosterone. That's it. Now, women actually do create testosterone. That's apparently becoming a thing where some women are using low levels of testosterone to try to help themselves stay fit and, grow a little bit of muscle and do all that. But that's not the same as putting little Susie on testosterone to make her a boy, okay? These are 2 very different conversations. I know everyone wants to have that gotcha moment, but that ain't it, okay? Now, speaking of gotcha moments, did you hear Chuck Schumer yesterday on the Senate floor? Oh, my gosh. Chuck Schumer, of course, the leader of the Democratic Party in the United States Senate. Well, he beefed.
He may have had some bad salad.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what happened to him, but it didn't go well for Chuck Schumer getting caught on the hot mic farting.
The American people need to know, of course, how and why this chaos is spreading through their streets, and we need a complete investigation that's independent. Now, on Iran and the NDAA, when all the Trump administration can say about his disastrous war with Iran is that Vietnam was worse.
And you can tell if you watch the video, he looks up and he has this awkward look on his face.
Like, whoopsie.
And then he picks up his cadence on the back end as if he's somehow going to drown out what just happened by talking a little faster and a little louder and a little more pacing to his speech. No, Chuck, we all heard it, okay?
Now on Iran and the NDAA.
No, everyone heard it, Chuck. Jeez, John.
I've got an idea on the filibuster.
Well, I'm glad they're passing something in the Senate because there's not much else. Jeez.
Between that and the people are aroused, I mean.
I know. It's just, he's something else. Put Chuck Schumer in front of the microphone and wow, he's just.
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
He is absolutely out of control.
Clearly eating off of his own barbecue grill.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Now on Iran and the NDAA.
He just unbelievable. And that may have been more than just a fart, man. I'm telling you. He should have been wearing one of those masks. All right? Because he had to check on that one after the fact. That's not good.
That was loud.
It was loud and it was more going on there than I think just a little toot toot. Well, coming up, let's talk to the mayor of Kansas City. What do you say? We got a lot to cover with Quinton Lucas on KCMO.
From Overland Park to Parkville, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Well, last night, what a game that was. I know it wasn't here in Kansas City, but it's two of Kansas City's teams who have been base camped here the last few weeks. Argentina coming back late in a 2-1 win over England. So my understanding is Argentina is gone as they get set to go to New Jersey for the finals, and England is back packing up its stuff here in Prairie Village before they get set for the third place game. The mayor of Kansas City, Quinton Lucas, joining us on KCMO Talk Radio. So, Mr. Mayor, Argentina, are they officially out the door, or is there one last hurrah here before they call it a day here in Kansas City?
So Argentina has moved on. Of course, they have preparation for their big match this weekend. We have loved having them with us. They were great practices. Our friends from England, I think the news has covered that they actually came back last night. We get to have a farewell for them. And then they're, of course, back to the United Kingdom. All in all, great collaboration, not just with the teams, with local law enforcement, all their base camps, the hotels. Kansas City was proud to be a huge part of all of it, including Kansas City PD, many of the others who made a big difference on it.
So with that being the case, you look back on these last few weeks. I saw you share this, public safety for the month of June, non-fatal shootings down 49% from the prior year and the lowest for any June in the past 5 years. Is that in your opinion, direct correlation of the World Cup being here, or is that just partially maybe luck?
Let me tell you how I tend to see it. And I want to give credit, of course, always to Chief Stacey Graves, Deputy Chief Doug Niemeyer, who works with investigations, i.e. the people who investigate a lot of these shootings, the ag assaults, the homicides, and others. What people were scared about before the World Cup was that we would take officers away from core policing functions. And I think you saw anything but. Obviously, a lot of our officers worked a lot of extra, a ton of overtime. I can see why they're exhausted. I can see why we'll have more vacations perhaps in August. But we kept solving crimes, even ones that got a lot of attention. That guy who was shooting people on the highway, right? That was solved pretty instantly, thanks to the good work by our police department, working with KCKPD, ultimately Independence and others, right? You were seeing us get through and solve a lot of these incidents. So as I see it, it actually is just more reflection on more officers in Kansas City having been hired, us making sure that with a lot of the extra help, we did not actually detract from our everyday law enforcement mission. We had a lot of mutual aid. And I think ultimately where you see the shootings and the homicide activity are going down are areas like the East Patrol Division, the eastern part of the Central Patrol Division, i.e. the areas that in some ways don't have real activations. Now, Arrowhead Stadium is an East Patrol, but otherwise you don't have Fan Fest, you don't have the bars of downtown and the plaza, and we're seeing real declines there. And so I think that is a positive about policing Kansas City more than anything about, just World Cup changing the whole environment.
It does seem like East Patrol in particular, when you look at the homicide numbers and the violent crime numbers, down much more than, say, Central, Metro, South Patrol. The crime shifting? I mean, it's down overall, but why is East Patrol seeing such a big decline, and how do you get the rest of these communities to see that similar decline?
For step one, it's gotten a lot of the focus. I mean, I think, look, any of us who know Kansas City know that a lot of our crime for generations and years has been focused on the east side of Kansas City, on East Patrol. And that's where a lot of our programmatic efforts, both from our enforcement programs, some of which heavier, to our prevention programs, to the Stand Against Violence program, where the prosecutor's office and Melissa Johnson work closely with KCPD, community organizations. I think those programs are yielding results. And I think, I said this at a Board of Police Commissioners meeting the other day. When you have, even before this thing I put online the other day, right? 50% declines on the east side of Kansas City in homicides, 50% declines in shootings. That is a huge deal, which in a non-World Cup year is something that should get tremendous attention. And the real story, if you actually break down homicides and other shootings in Kansas City, is how, by and large, the classic, for lack of a better term, kind of gang-related activity, trust me, those bad things still happen. The shootouts and all of that, but you're seeing fewer of those. We're seeing, unfortunately, this steady stream of homicides related to domestic violence, intimate partner violence, that relational sort of thing. But you are seeing a shift in public safety in this community, and I got to give credit to the people who've been working on it a lot lately, which includes KCPD and our prosecutor's office, violence prevention as well.
I know that we couldn't get that temporary jail up and running by the World Cup, but what's the timeline on that? And I hope that, I know a lot of Kansas Cityans feel the same way, that despite the fact that the permanent jail is hopefully just a couple of years away, that temporary jail is still moving forward. What are the plans on that?
So, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, but I know we don't have forever. We need to staff up the modular jail. Currently, I think the estimate is that staffing may be complete by the mid-fall, late fall. And when I hear late fall, I basically hear December. When I hear December, I hear the end of the year. So, I mean, I think that what we're getting is an occupancy permit for it here within days. Great. But if you can't staff it, you can't run it. If you can't run it, then, it's a wonderful white elephant project we have. We have got to make sure that we actually get it right on how we operate these things, too, rather than just building them. And look, sometimes these are fights that you lose long term. I was the guy who was saying we should have fixed up the 8th floor, the top floor of KCPD. Their headquarters was a jail for 75 years. We closed it down in the early into mid-2010s. I was not around for that, but nonetheless, right, you closed it then. We have spent millions and millions of dollars of shipping people other places. We're now spending about $30 million to build something that will hold about the number of people that you would have held at this space. We still can't operate it. I mean, at a certain point, I have to say to government, and it's interesting, it comes up in the correction space more than anything. You got to say, all right, how do we clear these administrative hurdles? So, I say this with the greatest love and respect to everybody. Big jail, little jail, temporary jail, whatever jail, you got to have staff to do it. We have to have a plan for operations. And I would have hoped that we would have seen a little more of one. And if the whole story is you can't hire staff, we need to get in a hiring competition and pay more to compete with Jackson County or some of these others that are hiring. And that's the focus that I think it needs to shift to. As for when we get permanent versus the temporary, I've said it a few different interviews, and I'll say it again. The modular jail, I went out and visited it a few weeks ago. It's a building that we constructed that's as strong as any elementary school or what have you that's been built around this community. And if it takes a few more $1 million to make it more permanent long term, then we need to do it rather than just saying, all right, we'll build a new, bigger jail. Who's going to staff that when it comes? And I think these are the things we need to be prodding instead of kind of saying, oh, wait, there's something else to come.
That public safety sales tax that passed last year for the permanent jail, when has that started to be collected already?
I believe it starts getting collected next year. I think we're still on our last year of the prior public safety sales tax. That gets collected next year. And I'll show you my cards, man. And mine is very simply this, that I think we still need to build a new Central Patrol Division for KCPD. I think we need to build, obviously, take care of our long-term detention needs, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of other public safety needs. I think those things should be figured out, put into a tranche of things now, made most effective for the taxpayer, i.e. you see how you can save money by building them together, and then we all get to move on and focus on how we hire and staff up for this community.
I saw a story, and we talked about it early this morning. Mayor Lucas, of course, is joining us on KCMO. Streetcar workers want to unionize. I guess that is something they'll be voting on here. They are not city employees. So is their end game, you think, to become employees of Kansas City, Missouri? And are you on board with that?
I think they'd be, look, and this is no disrespect to the streetcar. I think they do a good job. I think city employees have good benefits. City employees have great pensions, and I would encourage anybody to consider city employment. That being said, I think that I think they're all employees technically of a private actor, the company with whom we contract for the streetcar, and I understand they just want more worker benefits long term. So I like labor. I like good labor in the public sector as well, and I wish them well as they take a focus on these future endeavors.
So the city you guys own the street cars themselves, obviously, but then the workers are contracted through this Herzog private company.
Yeah, it's really quite interesting. Yeah, the city, I mean, I tell you, it's like we can just take the liability for everything, basically. But yes, we own the road, obviously. We own the tracks. We own the streetcars. And then, you have the entity that manages and operates. You have the contractor that actually is working with the employees, doing all of the necessary work. It's an interesting kind of mangled area, but one that obviously is working well for Kansas City.
Well, I was going to say, you sounded like you didn't really like it when you say you take on the risk, but how much money are you saving with benefits and pensions and things like that by making people private sector employees?
You know what? That is a darn good point. Don't try to trick me into doing something though that makes it seem like I want to privatize all these jobs.
Well, I think that's a great goal for the next 12 months. Try to privatize as much as you can. See how that goes.
It's look, the pensions and all of that I think are an important part of what we do. I like the fact we take care of our firefighters, our cops, our sanitation workers, and I hope we continue to do that for a while. And for the streetcar people, I think that's a little bit of why they're looking to unionize.
Okay. All right. Mayor Lucas is exactly right here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM right here in Kansas City. So as you look back on this World Cup, as we go ahead and hopefully we'll get some sales tax receipts and see what all this looks like, by the end of the year, is that the target for when we'll kind of know what the monetary benefit was of this beyond obviously the attention that Kansas City got over the last few weeks?
Yeah, I think that's the best model that you actually look at. And it's a really simple formula. You look at tax proceeds as compared to those in prior years and certainly in the quarters before. And so I would expect that to come really even at the end of this quarter. But by year end is when you get to run at least those concrete numbers. I have no doubt soon, and I don't know if you or your listeners will believe them, but I have no doubt that very soon we'll probably have those types of numbers where we say the indirect spend was, $1 kajillion and everything else. But, I think those are good brass tacks types of things where we say, this is what we studied, this is what we made more of than last time. The thing that I will encourage those of you who comment on all of this to say, though, is I guarantee we won't have made, let's say, $100 million in Kansas City, Missouri sales tax collections alone more than we did the prior June, let's say. So let's see how we can contextualize it regionally and all of that, knowing that there were a lot of different fund sources that came to the World Cup.
When do you, I know the 2031 Women's World Cup is of interest to Kansas City. What's the timeline on potentially finding out about that?
What I hear is that's more of an early 2027 discussion. Also, the Rugby World Cup. We're already in active preparations to make sure that Kansas City has a bid for it. I think probably the most interesting thing, and I need to just give a call to my good friend Governor Kelly and some others, is as we look to more regional events, how do we make sure, this last World Cup, and I appreciate the Kansas City, Missouri taxpayer for it, the city of Kansas City was the guarantor for the World Cup entirely. So if things flopped, if things went awry, much like how you saw me and Stacey Graves standing out there after the Chiefs parade shooting, and everybody else who was a part of it really didn't say a lot, right? We were the ones who were on the hook for this. Fortunately, there was great fundraising. Revenues came from both states to help support it. You got private fundraising. Will Kansas City, Missouri continue to do that forever? Now, it's my view that the Rugby World Cup, Women's World Cup, likely at Arrowhead Stadium, the county sales tax runs through then. So even if the Chiefs have moved technically that fall 31 season, you still have that facility available. So that might not be the change. But obviously, as we look at Final Fours, other things long term, the question is going to be, who is the guarantor for those major expenses? Is it a smaller jurisdiction like KCK that, with the greatest respect, has its own revenue streams and challenges and is talking about property tax increases? Is it the state of Kansas, which has put a lot into the facility? Will KCMO just do it out of the kindness of its heart? Maybe there's a guarantee of a fan fest in our city. A lot of things to think about. I don't know if they get figured out in my time, but there's something that folks do need to consider.
Mayor Lucas here. Last question for you briefly. With all the attention now on Arrowhead, of course, coming out of these games, any new thoughts on what the future holds for that stadium and the complex?
I think the first step would be that, 2031, I think you see it works. I think you see how well this can work for global soccer and sports. And so I think that cements it as not just a good candidate for 31 Women's World Cup and Rugby World Cup matches, but probably a leading area nationally. I say that as a guy who sat next to a lot of FIFA people during that entire process and during a lot of these matches who raved about it. More long term, I think, we continue to have to see facility. And I think what you really see the breakdown is there's an intermediate and there's a long-term discussion. On the intermediate side, basically, the Chiefs will be handing over keys to a facility that still has, about $30 to $35 million a year going to it in maintenance, which is good even for a big facility, right? One that still has the ingress, egress, the road network, frankly, the plans for law enforcement to our chat of operations before. I would expect at least in those first 5 years after the Chiefs leave, if they ultimately end up leaving, you probably see it still available for major events. The question thereafter for one of us to consider is, how do you fund it long term? There have been some chats about a sales tax just to keep that going. I don't know if that's an efficient use of taxpayer funds, but I think there will be some real debates on that long term.
I think you're still using the word if, huh? If they leave.
Hey, man, never say never.
Okay.
So, I think that what I'm going to do is continue to work to make sure that facility and the east side of Kansas City isn't forgotten. I was there opening up a park down the street the other day. We have good Kansas Cityans, good working class neighborhoods, good Pete Mundo listeners all around East KC, Independence, Raytown, and it's my job to make sure I work for them too. So that'll be an if until I know that something's signed on, that we figure out the next thing.
All right. Well, back to business as usual. Thank you, as always, for the time, Mayor Lucas. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.
Okay, take care.
All right. That's Quinton Lucas on KCMO. 913-408-7957. That streetcar, that's a tough spot for him, man. That's a tough spot for him. You want to be pro-labor, but let's be honest. They don't want to add dozens of more employees to the payroll. They just don't want to do it.
Ding, 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 ding.
There you go. He's dying to be a city employee from Channel 41 last night. He's just dying. All right, we'll get to Rick Brattin next hour. We got Chris Stigall as well coming up at 9, and Ask Mundo Anything 1 hour away.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right. Speaking of deals, hey, nothing better than Hy-Vee right now. If you're a Perks Plus member, they'll do the shopping for you. You can pick up your groceries, get express pickup, or they will deliver to your house for free. And you can also get, of course, a great bang for your buck on gas prices, get some discounts there. But it's all only at Hy-Vee.
Hey, Kansas City, I'm McGraw Millhaven, your host of America at Night. President Trump speaks to the country tonight, and we'll have analysis afterwards. Coming up at 8 o'clock only on 95.7 FM.
And we'll get to that just after the 8 o'clock news here on KCMO Talk Radio. But last night was, without the World Cup, probably the most dead sporting day of the year. And what they do last night is they air this award show called the ESPYs. ESPN put it together. It was actually a very good marketing idea all those years ago. Kind of have an awards sports ceremony on the day of the year when there are no sports to be had, because baseball all-star breaks going on, games get back underway today, and away we go. So last night, the Savannah Bananas did a little performance at the ESPYs. I won't play the whole thing, but, these guys kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, but their games are not predetermined in terms of the outcome. It's entertainment, it's baseball, it's a little bit everything, but it's also wildly popular. They were at the K, was it last summer they did something here?
They were here this summer.
This summer,
a couple of weeks ago.
That's right.
Two sold-out deals.
Yeah, they sold out the K twice. They're wildly popular when they go around the country. And people were roasting them last night because they did a little song and dance during the ESPYs, but it's like, I don't know, their popularity kind of tells its own story, but here they were last night. Just a little bit of this.
New York City, give it up for the Savannah Bananas!
Follow the lights to a time that you won't want to end. Don't try to fight when the gravity's pulling you in. Starts with a spark, then it burns to a flame. Oh, it rattles your bones and it runs.
By the way, are these guys lip syncing? Do we think? Are they lip syncing or are they actually singing?
I think they actually sing.
Okay, all right.
Probably to a track, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a track there. They may be singing, but
yeah, they're singing to a track.
That's not what you're hearing.
Yeah. So they're not like the greatest baseball players in the world. They're not the greatest singers in the world. They're entertainers. They do a little bit of everything. And they sell out every stadium they go to. I saw some sports fans being like, this is so lame. Well, it's really not intended for the diehard guy who's watching 120 baseball games a year. It's kind of for the TikTok crowd. And guess what? It's working. Like, I am never one to sympathize with or for ESPN. It's not something I've ever been interested in doing. I've got a lot of criticism of ESPN. But putting the Savannah Bananas in to do a little song and dance, trust me, far from their worst idea. Coming up, what are we going to get tonight from the President of the United States? Next. Some breaking news here. President of the United States announcing the release of an American from Iran as Iran is targeting U.S. allies, and strikes from the United States have expanded into northern Iran. That breaking news this hour, 8:04. Good morning. Glad you're here on KCMO Talk Radio. So we're kind of back to where we were right now. Let me see. The markets get set to open up in a half hour, and NASDAQ's off about 1%. Oil's up to over $80 a barrel, so trending back in the wrong direction. But unfortunately, that's what we expected when we got back to more or less a full-blown war with Iran. So keep an eye on that. Of course, the president, I'm sure, will address Iran tonight. I've got to imagine that when he does his 8 p.m. address to the nation, Iran's going to come up. Has to, right? And that will air 8 p.m. right here on KCMO Talk Radio. But the bigger part of this looks to be tied to the issue of China meddling in U.S. elections. Part of this speech tonight, CBS News had it first, is that you will hear tonight from the president on previously unreported Chinese meddling in U.S. elections. According to CBS News, in their reporting, some evidence shows that Beijing compromised U.S. voter data and evidence the CIA knew about the action and did not share that information with the president during his first term. Other reporting suggesting that, in addition to that, he will show evidence that China interfered to help Joe Biden win, including hacking into state voter registration databases, stealing information on tens of thousands of voters, ostensibly to manufacture mail-in ballots for Joe Biden. The evidence details alarming vulnerabilities of election infrastructure and is based on 4 sets of declassified documents set for release on Friday, unearthed from suppressed FBI and CIA records. So this was all being reported late last night, and we'll see what the president has lined up for tonight. Now, he teased this as well. He kind of went there yesterday, or I guess this was 2 days ago now. This was probably Tuesday, when the president alluded to the speech happening tonight and what it was going to be about.
It's really big news. It's really, really big news. And our country has to shape up. But that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday is it doesn't get bigger, because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too, but it's going to be a very big announcement. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, it's not really new that China and Russia targets our elections.
Only them?
Well, that's a
Right.
good point, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean voter fraud either. Doesn't necessarily mean that. Now, it might if he rolls it out tonight. And if we're going to go back to that conversation, I just want there to be so much overwhelming evidence that it's going to sway somebody. Because my fear is that whatever gets said tonight, you know, if you thought the 2020 election was stolen, then you're going to believe it after tonight. And if you don't believe the 2020 election was stolen, then you're not going to believe it tonight. If no one's minds get changed by whatever gets presented tonight, then it's more or less a nothing burger, and it probably actually helps the other side. But if he brings out something tonight and it is so juicy and it is so fact-based and so overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, look at what these guys are doing, and here's the black and white evidence as to what they're doing and how they did it specifically to 2020, then you've got a conversation. But if it's just harping on 2020, I'm sorry, that ain't going to move the needle in any meaningful way, John.
In an alternative universe, he'll come out and say, people say to me, sir, we're glad you lost. You got to be president for 250. Glad they cheated. Now you got to be the president during the Olympics, during the World Cup.
Yes, exactly.
Could have been over that quick.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but here's the to your point there, John. Trump's legacy is better off having won these non-consecutive terms. And I think that his impact on the country and the world is bigger with non-consecutive terms.
I agree.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's say the guy won in 2020. He would have been a lame duck. He would have had a lot of people around him who never really agreed with his policies and visions for the country and the world to begin with. And nothing would have happened. He came in back to office, a year and a half ago. And whether you like it or don't like it isn't really the point. He's had a much bigger impact on the country and the world, culturally, socially, with these non-consecutive terms. That's just, that's a fact. His ability to have influence on the future of America is much bigger because of these non-consecutive terms. So listen, I know Trump's thing is like he can't ever admit to losing anything. I mean, game of checkers. He probably never let his kids win anything growing up, right? Like he never let the kids win a game of Go Fish. I'm starting to teach the girls a little Go Fish. And needless to say, Dad's helping out, especially the middle one, Chloe. She's still trying to get her numbers and letters and is that a king or a jack? So we're working through the game. Dad'll use kid gloves. I'm guessing that Trump just smoked Don Jr., Eric, these guys never had a chance growing up in a game of horse, in a game of Go Fish, in a game of checkers. They had absolutely no chance. I mean, Trump would just bury them at like 40 years old. I could see it right now. But that's just, that's kind of his blind spot. And I'm not saying we don't need safe and secure elections. We do. I would vote for the Save America Act yesterday if I was in the United States Senate. I'm not saying that. And there is also some belief that what this is really about, too, is trying to get the Save America Act passed potentially through reconciliation. Now, because the Save America Act can't get to 60 votes in the United States Senate, how do you do it through the reconciliation process? There was a story in the New York Post this morning, actually, that John Thune he's the Senate leader, that John Thune is saying that they could, it's a little subjective, but they could tie this to the budgetary process to pass the Save America Act, which would implement photo ID. And one of the ways they would do it would try to figure out how to incentivize states to implement photo ID through basically financial incentives. I'm not sure I really want to give California money to implement voter or photo ID because I'm not sure they're going to do it right anyway. But you know what? Let's see how it plays out. Jay's at Lee's Summit. Jay, you're on KCMO. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I kind of like where they lowered the alcohol age by tying it to federal funding, I guess is what you're talking about.
I guess. I guess. I don't see that apples to apples. But anyway, what's going on?
And also with Trump, you were talking about it's either going to sway those who are already swayed or not sway those who are not. I have a third perspective in just that I think they need an Edward Snowden type of information dump and not just Trump talking because people who don't believe him aren't going to believe him, but it's just what he says, where there's all the documents, all the information, people can start going through it. Not the actual voter information or whatever, but and other people besides just Trump also presenting the information. Again, where people can review it similar to like with all the information that Edward Snowden released.
So who would you want to see present it?
Ideally, you would have people from both sides, like a committee. Rubio is really good at presenting, for one. But you'd also want to see potentially I'm going to say officials or people with the CIA, FBI, who aren't just elected politicians saying, yes, this is what it is. Not unlike where the Democrats tried lining up dozens of former intelligence officials trying to say Hillary's thing was true.
Yeah. I don't see any way that Trump lets someone else take the spotlight from him tonight. I don't think you're wrong, by the way. I appreciate the call, Jay. I think that would be a really interesting play. To have longtime people working for the CIA, FBI saying, here's what happened. But I think Trump wants his moment. Because honestly, I think what this is really about for him is to just get up there and say, I didn't lose. Even though no one really thinks about that anymore. Like no one, you know how we all have this tendency to think everyone else is thinking about us. Everyone else is thinking about our big screw up in the office or whatever it might be. No one's thinking about you. Everyone's thinking about themselves. Everyone's thinking about their grocery bill. Everyone's thinking about tomorrow. Nobody is really thinking, outside of the diehard partisans, really thinking about the 2020 election. No, it's just not happening.
So people aren't like me when the A's moved in 1968. And then I heard just a few years ago they were leaving Oakland. I knew it wouldn't work. Right. After being there about 50 years.
Yeah, you're in your own boat there, John.
Yeah, okay.
That's true.
All right. I'll note that.
Let's give away those Jason Aldean tickets. Seventh caller, 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO. Seventh caller, seeing Jason Aldean next Saturday at Morton Amphitheater. Rick Brattin is running for Congress in the 5th District. He wants to be the Republican to go up against Emmanuel Cleaver. He'll join us coming up. We got Ask Mundo Anything in a half hour, and then Chris Stigall at 9.
from Smithville to Shawnee Mission. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Who won the Aldine tickets there, John?
Kit in Platte City is going to the Jason Aldean show at Morton Amphitheater on July 25th.
All right. Congratulations, Kit. Next chance at 10:45 with Kevin Keatsman uncanceled. So the 5th Congressional District race is heating up, and that's the race amongst the GOP to go up against Emmanuel Cleaver. And good Republicans in this race across the board. We now welcome on and say hello to State Senator Rick Brattin, who is joining us. We had Governor Kehoe on the other day, and he noted to us that he has endorsed Rick Brattin in this race. Senator, good morning. Good to have you on the show as always. So for you, jumping into this race, you ran for the 4th District 4 years ago. You're now running in this new 5th District. What is it that is motivating you and driving you to be a member of Congress?
Well, you got to look at the crazy left. I mean, they're electing devout communists that are, screaming from the rooftops the destruction of America. And we've got to send true patriots and true fighters to Washington because this seems to be ground zero where they're really honing in because of the power of the federal government to overtake America and topple us as we know it. I just became a grandfather 5 months ago. And I want an America that I grew up in for my kids, my grandkids, and we can't gamble with the people we're sending to represent us. We need proven, true fighters to represent us in Washington with proven track records, proven voting records, proven sponsorship records. We need those things. I mean, we're the show me state, and I'm the only candidate in this race that can deliver that.
What part of your track record during your time in Jeff City are you most proud of that you think would translate to the work you would do as a member of Congress?
Well, I mean, because I've lived literally everything that I campaign on. Those are the things I fight for. So I've delivered the largest property tax relief and reform in our state's history, protected life, protected our Second Amendment, protected freedom and liberty, whether it's the First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, you name it. Those are things that I champion and I fight for, and I've been successful time and time again fighting against woke judicial branch, and their the way that they go about things and rewriting ballot language and where we get abortion on demand in our Constitution. We get all these crazy left things in our Constitution by a judiciary. I was able to be the champion and get something passed to stop their capability of rewriting ballot language that skewed voters. I mean, I've been extremely successful on numerous fronts, and I plan to take that track record to Washington and continue it there.
So take me through this letter that came down, and I've asked your opponents about it, but I obviously want to get your response to it, where the Missouri Times published this piece. It was an editorial by a couple of different folks, including Mark Anthony Jones, who used to be the Jackson County GOP chairman, claiming that you're the basically ghost of Todd Aiken, who, of course, lost to Claire McCaskill in 2012 and was a disastrous Republican candidate in the state of Missouri. In that general election. What's your response to these folks who are Republicans in Missouri calling you basically the ghost of Todd Aiken?
Well, I find it hilarious, to be honest with you, that the opposition campaign sending out op-eds for their oppo to get something printed in a newspaper. To then go out and bash me on an issue, but it had to do with again, we see all these crazy woke fake news media outlets. I did an interview when I sponsored a pro-life bill back in, I think it was 2012, 13 timeframe. So that long ago is what they're referring to, and it was a Mother Jones reporter had got my cell phone somehow. Which, if you know Mother Jones, they're about the most crazy, lunatic leftist group that there possibly is. And it had to do with giving fathers the capability of having a say to not have their child murdered in the womb. And it had an exemption for rape and incest, of course, that makes sense. And because Todd Aiken was hot on the headlines at that time, she just continued to press and press and press on, his quotes of the legitimate rape stuff. And I just kept on saying, I'm not even getting into this. I'm not getting into even saying the legitimate rape that he said. And she quoted and misquoted that and ran the story, and it blew up. Thank God we live in a day now where people realize the crazy woke left media, and they see it. They see the attacks of the president where he can't even open his mouth for a millisecond and they're misquoting. Well, that's exactly what we have here, and it's pretty shameful that we have an opponent running Mother Jones articles and things of that nature. But hey, if you want the strongest conservative, that when the left is coming after you, attacking you at every step of the way, that's what you're going to get with a proven conservative. We don't need John McCain Republicans that will literally turn their back on the Republicans day in and day out, and I think that's what you'll get with my opposition.
Rick Brattin's here on KCMO. He's a state senator down in Cass County. And, listen, I know that you're not technically living in the district right now. Neither is your major opponent. I believe Emmanuel Cleaver technically doesn't live in the district anymore. So how big of a deal is not having residents inside of the 5th Congressional District?
Well, during a redistricting time, which that's what this is, it's a new map. It's new boundary lines, and there's allowances. Every single jurisdiction that's redistricted, there's always an allowance for that election period. So I think people understand. But I'm the only one in this race that represents people in this district. On the Republican side, I represent Johnson County with Whiteman Air Force Base, 60,000 people I'm fighting for day in and day out. I live, right on the line, just a couple miles from the line of Johnson County. Grew up in Johnson County and in Greenwood as well. So I moved back and forth between Kingsville and Greenwood. But I think it's just important that you're willing to be the tip of the spear in fighting for Missouri values, constitutional values, and the God-given rights we've been given. I couldn't care less, honestly, where you're at as long as you're willing to fight that fight. And I think that's where Missouri voters are, and I think that's where Republican conservative voters are.
Rick Brattin, he is running for Congress here. We've got less than 3 weeks to go. Rick, we so appreciate you joining us on KCMO Talk Radio, and we'll definitely have you back again before Election Day, which is going to be here before we know it.
Well, I'd like to say, breaking announcement, I got the endorsement of the Attorney General, Catherine Hanaway. You guys are the first to hear that, so I wanted everybody to hear that as well. So we're racking up the major endorsements and looking to win this.
Yeah, that to go along with Mike Kehoe and many others. So congratulations on that. Thanks for sharing it here on KCMO, and we'll talk to you soon, Rick. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
All right, Catherine Hanaway giving the endorsement to Rick Brattin. Breaking news, the Attorney General for the state of Missouri on KCMO Talk Radio. Very cool. We've got Ask Mundo Anything. That is in 20 minutes. Chris Stigall at 9. Coming up next, is it weird to hang out with prisoners? Who did it next?
Hey, Kansas City, I'm McGraw-Milhaven, your host of America at Night. President Trump speaks to the country tonight, and we'll have analysis afterwards. Coming up at 8 o'clock only on 95.7 FM.
Yeah, that'll be live with McGraw-Milhaven, America at Night, after the president's speech, which is 8 o'clock. So McGraw's show probably will get bumped for the first. I set the over-under at 17.5 minutes for the big guy tonight. Mark, you hitting the over or the under on Trump 17.5 minutes?
I mean, I got to go over.
You got to go over?
Just for how I've seen him in the past.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I understand. You're right. Trump, listen, his State of the Unions are historically long. But if there's one thing that Trump secretly does respect, it's the time of TV networks, because he's an old school TV guy. So he knows if he's going to get some time in prime time from all the networks tonight, I actually think he'll have some respect for the primetime networks TV time, and he'll keep it to, I would lean the under. I don't know. I might be overly optimistic. I'm going to lean the under on 17.5.
I'm going to go over. I don't think we have any orchestra music to play him off. It's that part where he said he was going to talk about the election and some other things.
Yeah, true.
And that part concerns me. That's where I go over.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
But to your point, he may end it right on time to hit the break. I don't know. We'll see.
It's going to be very interesting. The last one he did, remember he did one of these when he announced the Iran war in the early spring, late winter. And that one was pretty tight. That was like 10, 12 minutes. So we got our man Steve Krause. He'll be in charge tonight running the board and keeping everything updated this evening at 8 o'clock. So I'll be texting Steve. We'll see what that number hits tonight. But then it'll be McGraw-Milhaven, America at Night. McGraw's coming to Kansas City with Vince Colonnese, Guy Benson, myself, Kiesman, Mark, John. The whole gang will be out at Boulevard on September 16th. Tickets are more than halfway sold out just a couple of weeks into our America 250 celebration at Boulevard. So make sure that you buy your tickets now. Don't wait. Don't drag your feet. You can get them at KCMOTalkRadio.com. Guys, how and in what scenario would you ever find yourself hanging out with prison inmates? Well, yesterday, the mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani, watched the World Cup at Rikers Island with inmates. And he billed himself as the mayor for all New Yorkers. Now, that's just extremely weird to me. It's not even political. It's just weird. Like, what are you going for? The prison vote? What's the constituency that's like, yeah, that guy's going to hang out with prisoners. That's my kind of guy. It's not like the old days where, hey, you could be in prison for smoking some weed. It's New York City. I was there 2 weeks ago. The whole place smells like weed. It's a nice mix. I was there. It was 95 degrees the day I left. It's a great mixture now of smelling garbage, marijuana, and a little bit of seawater that's still sprinkled in there, and fumes from the vehicles. That's about it. That's kind of the smell of Manhattan, New York these days. So it's not like these are, Rikers Island. I mean, those are the serious ones too. Those are the big time criminals.
Island.
Yeah.
Gives me a clue.
Exactly.
Is he trying to get him a day pass so they can go to the championship on Sunday?
I don't know if he's doing a raffle giveaway, a ticket give. What's it, like $7,000 to get into the championship this weekend between Argentina and Spain? It's like the get-in price is $7,000 to $8,000. Think about that. A family of four, $30,000+ to go to a soccer game for 90 minutes. You could redo your kitchen. You could go on the trip of a lifetime for 2 weeks with your entire extended family for $30,000. Or you could sit in MetLife Stadium and watch a soccer game for an hour and a half, John.
Well, there you go. I think you set it up. It's going to cost that much. He's going to be at the game.
Yeah.
So he's got to balance that. Say, oh, hey, last week I was at Rikers.
That's a good point. He's got to play that socialist commie thing of man of the people before he goes and, gets first class treatment at the World Cup finals.
Communist millionaire. That always kills me. No such thing, allegedly.
Him and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law is a defense attorney who he goes to Rikers Island. I don't want to say with regularity, but he has certainly spent time at Rikers Island. And he said it's basically everything you would expect out of the movies. I mean, it is a brutal, thankless, miserable, gray, disgusting place top to bottom. So if you want to spend time in that kind of a scene like Zoran Mamdani does, to act like a man of the people, I guess that's the play. You know, I wish Mayor Lucas could actually visit a jail in Kansas City, but there's kind of a problem. We don't have one. That's the problem. He'd have to go out to, Johnson County, Missouri, to go to the jail that the inmates get sent to here in Kansas City. That's where he would have to go. And the problem right now is that the temporary jail was not completed by the World Cup. That was supposed to be done for the World Cup. It wasn't. The permanent jail is still at least 4 years away, and there have been issues with that. Now, I asked the mayor about it on the show this morning, and to paraphrase him, I'll just give you the 20-second answer instead of the minute 20-second answer from the mayor himself. He basically said we're having a tough time hiring people. And that was alluded to, by the way, in the Kansas City Star. The Kansas City Star talked about this in a piece that they wrote, and they basically said they're begging people to apply for jobs. They only have a third of the 79 employees they need to fill the temporary jail in Kansas City. And according to a member of Public Works, or who is this person? Her name is Knapp. Diane Knapp, I think is her name. Diana Knapp. She was recently hired to lead the city's corrections and rehabilitation efforts. So according to her in the Kansas City Star, the qualifications are modest. Applicants must be 18 years old, at least, have a high school diploma, pass a drug test, and not have what she called, quote, a ridiculous rap sheet.
Who defines ridiculous?
Well, yeah,
right?
That's a great question, too. You can have she's literally saying you can have a rap sheet and work at the temporary jail. You just can't have a ridiculous rap sheet, John.
The guy's running the streetcar looking for some extra bucks. Can't we send them over? Right?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, where is that guy? He wants to make some more money. Instead of putting him on the city dole, you know what? Just have him work part-time at the temporary jail.
Over to jail, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She told the audience the other night at a roundtable, if you know somebody who's got a kid who needs a job, send them our way. And the mayor's like, well, we got to get more competitive with what we're paying people. You're literally willing to hire people with rap sheets. She's telling me you can hire someone who's got a rap sheet. It just can't be ridiculously long. And you still can only find a third of the employees to work at this place? I mean, and that's why Kansas City still doesn't have a temporary jail, any kind of a jail after what, going on a decade plus at this point? I mean, I know we had a great World Cup. Okay, and actually, June was a very good month by Kansas City standards for violent crime. Things actually trended down last month based on the numbers. All that is good, but you can't just look at that and say, well, you know what? Who needs a jail anyway? No, you guys built it. Now you got to hire the people and just get it done. And even these little things, man, they are just they're really struggling with some of it. And the mayor admittedly really didn't have an answer as to why this morning, to be totally honest. Coming up on KCMO, Chris Stigall is going to be here just after 9 o'clock. Of course, he's running in the 6th Congressional District up in North Missouri, including those of you in Clay and Platte counties. But next, Ask Mundo Anything. It's the last one for a couple of weeks, just to give you a little bit of a heads up. We won't have this one next week, taking a little time off. So, hey, if you want to get that question in, we have some fun with this segment. Whatever you want to ask me, that's, of course, appropriate. That's all I ask. The phones are open, 913-408-7957. Ask Mundo Anything is next.
Coming up at 10 o'clock, it's Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio, right after Pete Mundo and Mundo in the Morning.
It is that time of the week where we have some fun with this. You can ask whatever you want. I really do not care what it is. I just ask for it to be appropriate. That's all I got for you.
It's time to Ask Mundo Anything on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
The phone number to call, and you got to call in. Lines are open. John and Mark will get you on 913-408-7957. That's 913-408-7957. Hop on the show for Ask Mundo Anything. All right. Hold on. I got to pull my list up in front of me. Is that Dennis up north in Smithville? Dennis, go ahead. You're first up.
Yeah, the other week when we found out Macduff the dog was a serial humper at the dog parks, do you think you were being punked there, or was that for real? Because it was the funniest thing that's been on the radio in years.
My gut tells me it wasn't real. It wasn't real when we had the lady call up about the dog park in Leawood, and she was all upset about the trees getting cut down by Lockton, and then someone else called in and said that lady's dog was humping her dog.
Yeah, Poindexter checked in.
Yes, Poindexter checked in and said that his dog was getting humped by that lady's dog. I think it was one big spoof, but I'll tell you what, I had no idea it was coming. That was the beauty of it. We didn't set that up.
They were good. They should be on semi-weekly or something. They didn't break laughter or nothing. It was great.
I don't even know who they are. We have no idea.
I blew a little coffee out listening to it. Like, that's the funniest thing I've heard.
Oh, that was great. That's the beauty of live radio, Dennis. So, no,
Yeah.
that was not a bit. That was not a setup. That was just live radio at its absolute best. And that's why this medium and this format continues to win despite what the haters claim.
Okay, that's great.
All right. Yep. That was what, a week or two ago, I guess we had that moment on the show.
It was on the 7th, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
2 weeks ago now.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago now. Unbelievable. All right, 913-408-7957. That's the way to get in. We've got some open lines for you here on Ask Mundo Anything. And I won't be here next Thursday, so now's the chance to get in. Lines are open on a Ask Mundo Anything. Let's go to
Ask Mundo Anything.
John is on KCMO in Gardner. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Pete, I got one for you. So, in your opinion, who's hotter, Rachel Cruz or Jade Warsaw?
The Ramsey personalities?
Yeah. You got to pick one.
Do you have to say hotter, or can you say more attractive?
Let's do more attractive. We'll be more politically, yeah.
Okay.
Be more
Let's just.
respectful.
I mean, let's be a little more on the up and up with this, John.
Okay.
So the right answer here, and the only answer here, as someone who carries the show, of course, 10 to midnight on KCMO, you can hear the Ramsey Show. I'm not going to avoid your question, okay? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you a straight answer.
Okay.
And the only answer here is Rachel Cruz, the daughter of the guy who owns the show, who also happens to be a friend of this host and the radio station. So you have to give the nod to his daughter.
I meant no disrespect. I was just talking, dude to dude on that one.
Okay, I got you. Well, that's very nice of you, John. Listen, they do a nice job. I prefer the advice to the looks, but, to each their own.
I watched the podcast and stuff.
Gotcha. All right. You getting your financial house in order there, John?
It's coming along. I've got a little bit of money coming in the fall, and the credit cards are going to be cleared up, and I'm good.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. Very good. All right. Well, I thought you were going to ask me something else. I saw Ramsey personalities as your cue there.
It was a question about Ramsey personalities. I just kind of wanted to throw a, guy angle at it. So.
All right.
But
You had to do it.
Vacation, sir.
You had to do it. Thanks very much there, John. 913-408-7957. That's 913-408-7957. Ask Mundo Anything on KCMO.
That's a tough one when the wife's listening.
Well, listen. That's why you got to do it professionally.
Have honest conversations at home, I guess, to do those.
You got to do it professionally. Plus, whenever someone asks me that, right? Anyone says, hey, who do you think's better looking? Woman A or woman B? the answer is always this. Because I don't want to do a radio show where I just say, I can't answer that one, John.
Right.
Here's
What's the point of listening?
Here's what you do. You pick the person that most resembles your own wife.
That's what I was wondering.
That's what you do. And I would say that Kate and Rachel Cruz don't look similar. Okay? They don't. But at least there is a resemblance in that they both happen to have white skin and dark hair.
The Gin Blossoms have a song called You Can't Call It Cheatin'. She reminds me of you.
Oh, is that right? I don't know that one, but that's pretty good.
No, it's a classic.
Okay. 913-408-7957. I think that's the first time someone's asked a question on Ask Mundo Anything about the looks of females.
Seems like it.
I think so, in all the months we've been doing it. 913-408-7957. We've got time for a couple of more here on KCMO before we get to Chris Stigall just after 9. All right, let's go to, he's always good. Alex, you're on the Kansas side. What do you got for me? Here we go.
Ask Mundo Anything.
What's up, Pete? I've been wanting to ask you this question for a long time, but I didn't want you to get in trouble with your wife. But who was your celebrity high school crush? And the reason I asked that today is because John asked that question, so you might be in trouble once, but times two now.
Celebrity, did it have to be high school?
Well, here's what I'm leading to. I think it's Taylor Swift, and I think that's been impressed for a long time.
No, because you got my age wrong on that. Yeah. Taylor Swift didn't really pop until college. Love Story, I remember being, at a bunch of Villanova tailgates, all right? 3 Sheets to the Wind when Love Story came out. And that was a huge song, obviously, probably 07-ish, 08, give or take, is when Love Story came out. So I was wrapping up in the middle of my college years. So no, Taylor Swift was not really a thing when I was in high school because we're like the same age. But I would say the first celebrity crush I remember having was probably Britney Spears at like 12. That's when all that was, she was starting to obviously take off. So that's where I would answer that question. The first one I remember, I don't really remember like a specific person in high school, but the first one I remember would be Britney Spears.
All of us boomers had a Farrah Fawcett poster.
Well, the guy who invited me to Sheryl Crow, my buddy Dan, the other night, he's like, Sheryl Crow was my high school crush, and now I'm going to see her. Woo. And then the other night, he's like, oh, she aged a little bit from high school. I was like, yeah, she's 65. Father Time's undefeated. Let's squeeze in one more. Jim in Kansas City, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Democrat, Schumer.
Okay.
In politics.
Yeah, what about him?
I heard something about his name on the news this morning when I was driving around, but I didn't catch what it was.
So you're asking me about... he farted on the Senate floor yesterday.
He farted?
Yeah, here it is.
Now on Iran and the NDAA.
Oh, okay.
That's all you can give me. That's it?
So that made the news, huh?
Yeah. It's. I mean, they actually passed something in the Senate, and frankly, I'd rather listen to Chuck Schumer fart than talk all day, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's
it.
literally. That is. I mean, think about this. That is literally the news that you missed about Chuck Schumer out of the United States Senate. That he farted on the floor of the United States Senate.
Now on Iran and the NDAA.
Yeah, I mean, that's Chuck Schumer's career in a nutshell. Uncooked burgers and farts on the floor. That's all. Ask Mundo Anything wrapped up. What a way to end it. Chris Stigall's next. Less than 3 weeks ago, can you believe it? Until these primaries across Kansas and Missouri. And obviously, the race to replace Sam Graves is on. The primary is in full swing. Chris Stigall, joining us here on KCMO, wants to be your next congressman in the 6th Congressional District. That is basically all of northern Missouri, including Clay and Platte County, right here in the backyard of the KCMO Talk Radio audience. I saw this morning that Chris did put up a post as well that's gotten quite a bit of attention already. And Chris's post reads as follows, and it's a link to a YouTube video that he is sharing. And he writes here, I've heard from some of you concerned about these phony ads clipping my radio show to make it sound like I was anti-Trump. Chris writes, it's the lowest I've seen a candidate sink. So if you care about the truth and context, please watch and share. And that is in reference to ads being run by one of his opponents, Nathan Willett, in this race. Chris, what compelled you to go down this road and share this video that you just posted on YouTube?
Hey, Pete, good morning to you, my friend. 19 days to go. And, yeah, we're getting ready to run through the tape, and we've got some huge momentum to talk about. I do want to talk about it. But, look, as you close in on 19 days, panic starts to set in by lesser candidates who don't know what else to do but just make things up out of whole cloth. And the city councilman, because I guess he has absolutely nothing else to discuss and no other issue to stand on, has decided to take old radio shows of mine and clip them up to make me say things I never said. So I felt it important. We addressed this some time ago, but I know that in these closing days, all he's got left is to try to make Trump voters think that somehow at some point I was never Trump or anti-Trump. Of course, I got the receipts. And so I think it's important that every voter that hears that ad understands exactly who I am and where I've stood. Everyone who's ever listened to me on the radio over 25 years knows exactly who I am and where I stand, but I realize not everybody has. So I want to make sure everybody has full context of these remarks. And I'd just like to point out that the city councilman hasn't uttered President Trump's name until he decided to jump in this congressional race. The man doesn't have a thing to say about federal politics, never mind President Trump. He's not ready for the job. He knows it, so his best play is to try to be deceitful. And I just wanted to clear that up. Having said all that, we are looking great. We had record fundraising in the 6th Congressional District in this last quarter. No one has ever raised the amount of money that we raised in this race, and it's because people know a real conservative when they see him. They know the warrior that I will be. They know the message that I stand on and I've always stood on. Jim Jordan will be coming to town to have a fundraiser and a rally for us very, very soon, and I hope that if people want to go, they'll go to Stigall for Congress to RSVP. We not only had great revenue, we had great endorsements from Eric Schmidt and CPAC, but you know, we've also gotten some polling data that says we're absolutely thumping the next closest candidate in Clay County, Platte County, and Buchanan County. So we're rolling, but just in case anybody gets nervous in these closing days, I want to make sure everybody has full context of what they're hearing out there.
So let me ask you, Chris, you know, you've done at this point probably thousands and thousands of hours of talk radio shows over your career. And did you ever anticipate a world where, you know, things going into a congressional race might get taken out of context? Is that something you ever considered? Because you've been pretty open about your relationship with the president and your thoughts on his candidacy going back to 2015. I mean, that's not really something you've shied away from.
No, heck no. I mean, look, back in 2016, when Donald Trump showed up on the scene, came down that golden escalator, you know, Ted Cruz was very much in the race. And as if you hit rewind and go back to that time in history, Ted Cruz was playing strong in that race late into that primary. And yeah, I absolutely at the time was thinking in terms of doctrinaire conservatism, traditional conservatism, the way I always understood it. And Ted Cruz struck me as that candidate. I didn't know Donald Trump. I'd never thought of him as a candidate. What I came to learn, and what I've since said many, many times on the air over the years, is that Donald Trump surprised and delighted me beyond my wildest dreams. And so by the time lawfare was turned on him, I believe the 2020 election was a complete and utter disaster for 1,000 different reasons I won't go into right now. But when Donald Trump was out of the White House and during that phony Joe Biden presidency, the lawfare we saw waged against him, the attacks on his family, the raid on his home, the attempts on his life, and he still soldiered on and won. I endorsed the guy early, like well before most of his cabinet, Pete, as a matter of fact. And what I said then was, if Donald Trump doesn't win that next primary, if he's not our nominee in 2023, 2024, then we've lost the country. I said so. I believe that. The video proves it. I posted that again today. So I don't want anybody to misunderstand where I've been. Yeah, did I have questions about Donald Trump the first time? I did. I never did after that. I was diehard, ride or die, all in with Donald Trump. I always have been. The White House knows that. I've had President Trump on my show 7 times. I was just at the White House after his most recent State of the Union address. The White House knows exactly who I am and my fondness for and my support for this president's agenda.
All right, Chris, you were in Maryville last night. Chris Stigall's here on KCMO, 6th Congressional District. What came out of that town hall last night? Is there a theme coming out of these events that you're going to that might be surprising you or a bigger deal than those of us covering it in the media might be realizing?
I will tell you that the thing most people want to talk about, if you're specifically focusing on an issue, particularly in North Missouri, it's data centers, Pete. And I know it's not a news story to you, and it's not something you haven't spoken about here, but people are very interested in the subject of. Some are very concerned about. Some are violently opposed to. Some are very supportive of data centers. It is a huge issue. It's an issue of property rights, economic development, environment, surveillance. There are all kinds of things that are being thrown around. I mean, if I'm to be truthful, I think there's a lot of propaganda in the discussion. I don't think there's a lot of people just sitting around a table and having honest discussions. There needs to be a lot more of that. But folks are very, very concerned about these data centers. They don't trust them. I think there needs to be more transparency and more openness. You know, I mentioned the city council has signed off on 6 of them, by the way, but non-disclosure agreements are not the way to do business. We need to have full and open transparency if you're going to build these things. And I think local communities need to have a say. I don't want the federal government dictating the terms of data centers to the communities and counties throughout North Missouri. They should have the say and have a full hearing on them all.
Now, the president, he's been very much pro data centers. So how do you square making sure that obviously you're looking out for land rights and you're, conserving water for farmers in North Missouri, while also obviously, understanding that we're in this, what seems like an arms race with China on these data centers?
Yeah, they're coming. I mean, to anybody that seems to think this can be reversed or we don't need them or they shouldn't be built, they're going to be built, much like China builds coal-fired power plants at a rapid clip. We have hamstrung ourselves in this country when it comes to energy, and it's, I think, the biggest national security issue of our time. Regardless of data centers, we're consuming more energy, not less. And we're not going to get more energy from the wind and solar panels, Pete. We need cheap, reliable energy. We need a boosted and strong energy grid. And yeah, AI is coming. It's coming hard. It's fast. And there's a lot of data centers being built around the country, certainly in China. Now, look, I'm not saying you have to embrace and love the idea of data center in your backyard, but they will be built. And so we should have a strong advisory panel in local communities to sit down with local leaders and make sure all the citizens in those respective communities, if one is coming, understand what it is, the net benefits, make sure all the questions and concerns are answered. And right now, the people building those data centers have not done a great job with that. I don't think politicians should have to lead the discussion on what data centers do and don't do. I think the people building them should be doing that.
I know you got the endorsement late last week from Jim Jordan, of course, congressman in Ohio. What does an endorsement like that do for the campaign down the home stretch?
Well, it means a lot to me personally. To be honest with you, I think Jim Jordan is one of the great conservative warriors of all time in Congress. I think the House of Representatives and the Republicans right now, I know the Senate has just dragged its feet on something as common sense as the Save America Act. But I think Mike Johnson and House leadership have done remarkable things with a very slim majority. I think Jim Jordan prosecutes as the chairman of the judiciary like probably nobody else in the House does. He's a masterful communicator. And when he called and said he wanted to lend his name and his endorsement to this campaign, it meant a lot to me because I think he sees, I hope, something in me like he has in himself, and that's the ability to prosecute the left. Pete, they're on the march. You see what just won in New York. You know that region of the country. Progressive, left-wing, communist, Marxist, Islamist ideology is beginning to sweep our big cities. It's not a time for patty cake. It's not a time for half measures. This is not a Democrat party. You know, people have this romantic idea that it's still Harry Truman or Ike Skelton. Those days are gone. These people hate the country as founded. And you need people who can call them out, articulate it, and fight them. That's what I've been doing for 25 years. That's what guys like Jim Jordan do. That's what Eric Schmidt does so well. And that's what I'll do if I'm elected August 4th.
Chris, I know you are racing down the home stretch here, and you're doing what you know you've been called to do at this moment in your life. But tell me there's not a part of you that doesn't miss getting to open a mic this morning and talk about Chuck Schumer farting on the Senate floor last night.
Now on Iran and the NDAA.
Yeah, it does remind me to make sure I have a well-stocked pharmaceutical case in the office, just in case I'm feeling a little dyspeptic when I'm on the House floor speaking. I got to make sure I get the Beano or whatever. I don't want that viral moment for me. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No, I do. I envy. Look, it's you know what's frustrating? You can appreciate this when everything you say and do is boiled down to a minute or less.
Yeah.
And you used to have 3 and 4 hours to talk and explore and peel the onion and walk around an issue. It's very difficult to truncate things you'd like to say and things you think on a campaign, and that's very much why I miss talking with people every morning.
Yeah. Well, listen, like I said, you're doing what you're meant to be doing, and good luck these next 19 days, Chris. We'll talk to you again before Election Day.
If people want to join us for that Jim Jordan event, he's coming to town, and you can go to StigallForCongress.com. It's a free event. Hope you'll come out and say hello and meet the congressman.
When is that?
That's coming up on July 20. Sorry, now here I've messed it up. It's here at the end of July, and I'm sorry, I should have had that specific date. But StigallForCongress.com. If you go to StigallForCongress.com, I believe it's next Saturday.
Okay.
It's at 2:00. It's at Shoal Creek Golf Course.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, that'll
So
be
come on out.
fun. Enjoy it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Pete.
You bet. Chris Stigall on KCMO Talk Radio. Yeah, Shoal Creek, that's where we're doing we did our giveaway for Father's Day. We're playing up at Shoal Creek. We got that date lined up with the winners, by the way. We had our 2 winners, myself, Keatsman, each winner gets a guest, and then our buddy Chris from CMP Construction, great sponsor of this show, is going to be joining us as well. Apparently, Chris is a player, so I got to hit the range before we play golf here. It's going to be at the end of August, but it's going to be a good time up at Shoal Creek. But before then, hey, hang out with Chris and Jim Jordan. I always think of that Trump tweet. Didn't he, talk about Jim Jordan and he spelt it G-Y-M? Wasn't there some Jim Jordan thing that went viral, several years ago where he spelt it Jim Jordan, G-Y-M? I might be misremembering the story, but there was something hysterical about that with Jim Jordan. But yeah, it's days like this when Stigall's got to miss talking about Chuck Schumer farts on the Senate floor. Come on.
I do remember the Jim. I think he was talking about how buff he was.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Oh my gosh. Yeah, boy, Chuck Schumer's taking it from all angles today. That's just unbelievable yesterday. It really was something else.
The American people need to know, of course, how and why this chaos is spreading through their streets, and we need a complete investigation that's independent. Now on Iran and the NDAA. When all the Trump administration can say about his disastrous war with Iran is that Vietnam was worse?
Even Jim's own ass wasn't buying what he was saying. Oh my gosh, that's just too much.
It's going to get censored from France for methane emissions too, I think, the Paris Peace Accords.
Yeah, they can't have them over
Climate
there.
Accords.
Yeah, that's right. That's why they can't have air conditioning. All right.
Oh boy, what a joy that would be.
Wow. Unbelievable. All right. We still have, Mark, you got something for me or no?
Bust out the fans.
Yeah, that's right. 913-408-7957. Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled is coming up at 10 o'clock on KCMO. Hey, one of the most viral stories of the week comes to a happy ending next.
Vince Colonnese here, and I'm coming up at 11 after Kevin Keatsman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
So this viral story, you may have seen the video coming out of the weekend. Yellowstone, there was this bison up there that threw a guy 8 feet in the air. It went, I mean, it's been seen by hundreds of millions of people. Now, the guy wasn't doing anything wrong necessarily. He wasn't one of these fools who goes up to a park and is like, let me go pet the bison. Like, it just kind of unfolded very quickly. But a guy caught video of this dude being launched 8 feet in the air by this bison. He was seriously injured. He survived, thank goodness. But yesterday, TMZ reported, and Fox News obviously picked it up here. I'm reading this from Fox, that the bison will not be euthanized after park officials confirmed the wild animal will remain in the park despite the shocking encounter. So Yellowstone officials saying no management action. That is, I think that's the right move. I'm not sitting here as some sucker for animals, although I don't like the bison meat. I've tried it on burgers. Not a big fan of the bison burger. Just give me good old-fashioned, Kate likes 90-10, 85-15. I like 80-20. That's just my thing. But I like bison as an animal. I don't think this animal deserved to be euthanized over that encounter. I don't. I'm glad they didn't do it. They would have turned this bison, I don't know if he had a name, but they would have turned him into Harambe.
Yep.
That's what he would have turned into.
Yeah, I think it's the right call, too. There were warning signs that buffalo was running around, throwing up dust and things, and that's your warning to move away.
Mm-hmm.
They run 40 miles an hour. I'm my age and that guy's age, they run like 10. Maybe. Tyreek Hill goes 22.
Yeah.
He's burning it down the field. So
bison get up to 40 miles an hour?
40 miles an hour. So remember your knife thing?
Yeah.
With the police? They closed that gap like that, and that's unfortunately what that guy found out.
I did not realize, John, you taught me something this morning. 40 miles an hour on the bison.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, that's moving, man. That's smoking.
You're not outrunning one.
Yeah. You think you're getting up to 10 miles an hour?
I don't think I can hit 10.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I'm saying, I remember him saying Tyreek was hitting 22 miles an hour one time on the NFL game.
We should all do a race here, see who can get the fastest, hit the highest end speed. Yeah.
You've got those little speed limit signs in neighborhoods that are run by solar panels, and you see people streaking by them as fast as they can.
Get to 8 miles an hour. Guy looks like he's going 20, but he's going 8 miles an hour.
10.2.
Yeah, who's blowing out the first hamstring too? That's what I want to see. Unbelievable. But Harambe was the gorilla from the Cincinnati Zoo that they ended up euthanizing. And he became like a kind of this cultish figure. It was the summer of 2016 because I remember we didn't have kids yet. We were still living back east. We were actually, going out and doing things that people do when they don't have kids in their 20s. And Harambe was like this cultural figure that would randomly start getting chants in the bars at like 1 o'clock in the morning. There would be chants for Harambe. And it feels like a different lifetime ago, but yeah, it was the summer of 2016. So thankfully, we don't have Harambe 2.0 with the bison. He's going to live. I'm happy about that for him. I think it's the right move for Yellowstone as well. So good on them. Because, by the way, the protests up there would have been bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone would have moved from Minneapolis over to Yellowstone. That's what would have happened. Coming up, our caller of the day as we get set for the president's address to the nation tonight. It's at 8 p.m. It will air right here on KCMO, and we'll dive into it next.
Hey, Kansas City, I'm McGraw Millhaven, your host of America at Night. President Trump speaks to the country tonight, and we'll have analysis afterwards. Coming up at 8 o'clock only on 95.7 FM.
Should I do the Pat McAfee and just stand for the whole show like this? My back's hurting. So I could. But then the problem is if you're watching on YouTube, you're staring at my crotch, which no one wants to do.
Only
that.
you had your new belt with the extra hole.
Yeah, I know. Now you can see how loose my belt buckle is. Unbelievable. All right, our caller of the day. You just heard McGraw say that he's obviously going to have live reaction tonight to the president's address to the nation. It's coming up at 8 p.m. You will hear it right here on KCMO Talk Radio, and then you'll hear America at Night following up. What's the president going to do? What's his play? Apparently, China meddling in the 2020 election is going to be at least a part of that speech tonight. Let's get to our caller of the day.
It's the Mundo in the Morning Caller of the Day on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Jay's and Lee's Summit. What's going on?
And also with Trump here talking about it's either going to sway those who are already swayed or not sway those who are not. I have a third perspective in just that I think they need an Edward Snowden type of information dump and not just Trump talking, because who don't believe him aren't going to believe him, but it's just what he says, where there's all the documents, all the information, people can start going through it, not the actual voter information or whatever, but and other people besides just Trump also presenting the information, again, where people can review it, similar to like with all the information that Edward Snowden released.
So who would you want to see present it?
Ideally, you would have people from both sides, like a committee. Rubio is really good at presenting, for one, but you'd also want to see potentially, I'm going to say officials or people with the CIA, FBI, who aren't just elected politicians, saying, yes, this is what it is, not unlike where the Democrats tried lining up dozens of former intelligence officials trying to say Hillary's thing was true.
We'll see. I don't think Trump's going to give anybody else the mic tonight. This is going to be his show. This is going to be his presentation. And we'll see what he's got. I hope he's got some goods. I hope he's got some goods. And if he does, I think it's also about kind of trying to get through the Save America Act, which now, according to John Thune, could be part of a reconciliation bill. And without getting too far in the weeds on that, basically normal policy legislation has to get 60 votes in the Senate, right? That's the way they've had it set up. And Thune has been like, I don't have 60 votes. I got 53 Republicans. I can't get to 60 for the Save America Act to have photo ID and whatnot for our federal elections. But if they weave it into a reconciliation bill, which is about the budget, and the way they would do that is by offering states like, let's say, California, money to implement photo ID, they can squeeze it in through reconciliation. Potentially. Thune admitted to the New York Post in a story that dropped last night that it's a little bit subjective, but Lindsey Graham's the one who told Trump the night before he died, I think we can get Save America done. And the belief is that that may be the way they accomplish it. We'll see if it works. And tonight may be like that next step in getting that through. So this just came down here. Latest IRS data show the top 10 counties with the largest net losses of taxpayers to other states. And drum roll as to where they were all located. California and New York. Way to go. Slow clap.
I have a friend that moved their business from California to New York. I was trying to help him, but
you know
it really
what?
wasn't over politics per se, but I'm going, do you not realize what you're doing?
Oh, my gosh. That is the ultimate tallest midget. Which one's worse, New York or California for taxes? Wow. Listen, if all else was equal, California at least has some of the greatest weather on the planet, depending on where you are in California.
That's my friend's lament.
Yeah.
They left the weather for that.
Yes. You left California. I mean, depending where you are, but you left California where you have the mountains, the beaches, certain places, obviously perfect weather, 300 days a year. For New York, that is suicide. That's nuts. So here's the story. This was from federal tax returns. The figures offer one of the clearest snapshots of where Americans are relocating and where their income is moving with them. Economists say that those migration patterns help explain broader shifts in state economies, tax bases, and housing markets as families weigh affordability, taxes, and job opportunities. Now, this is a county-by-county map, and it shows all the counties across America. So I was able to look up here in the Kansas City area. Johnson County. Now, I'm reading this from foxnews.com. This is for 2022 to 2023. Interstate migration. Johnson County, Kansas lost 632 taxpayers during that period of time. Jackson County, Missouri gained 1,000. Clay County gained 200. Platte County gained 230. Cass County gained 312. But interestingly, everything on the Kansas side in the immediate metro was red. Leavenworth lost 50. Johnson lost 600. I can't pinpoint Wyandotte here. It's a really small map. Douglas County lost 268. Shawnee County lost 228. So that's really interesting that some of the more rural parts of Kansas did okay, but wow.
I wondered about Miami County just to the south of Johnson.
Miami County.
I don't know if you can pinpoint it there or not.
Lost 27.
27. Couple dozen.
Yeah, a couple dozen in Miami. Lynn lost 5. Going down south of there, Bourbon County gained 3. But so listen, smaller numbers compared to what you're seeing in places like New York and California. Like Los Angeles County lost 17,496 taxpayers, net taxpayers. So that's how many they brought in versus how many they lost. They lost 17,000 more than they brought in. Same thing in Johnson County, Kansas, losing 600 more than they brought in. That's interesting. If Missouri gets through this no state income tax here coming up in a couple of weeks, you're seeing many more gains on the Missouri side than you're seeing on the Kansas side, especially in the counties where you're actually, growing and seeing taxpayers move to. That's really interesting. And it's a totally different picture than what people like County Commissioner Mike Kelly is painting here in Johnson County. We're growing. Everything's great. Everyone's coming to Johnson County. And they want to be here because of our great county services. And that's why you've got to continue to get yourself fleeced on your county taxes. Nah, man. I just want a decent park. Want a guy to occasionally mow that park. I'd like a library or two. We don't need the Taj Mahal of courthouses. We don't need the Taj Mahal of health buildings going up there at 119th and Ridgeview. If you've driven by that thing, it's like, whoa. We just want some solid, decent, basic services. Good sheriff's department, obviously, is on that list as well. But the idea that Johnson County is wildly attractive and people are flocking here because of something the county government is doing, like, yeah, we want the basic services. We want to be able to, call EMS and make sure somebody shows up on time. But it doesn't mean we need every amazing capital improvement, every building to be improved known to mankind, and a growth of the bureaucracy. That is not what anybody's wanting. And the numbers show here it's not exactly helping when it comes to gaining taxpayers in Johnson County, Kansas. So go figure. 913-408-7957 is how you join us here on a Thursday morning on KCMO. And this actually weaves into what Philip Sarnicki posted yesterday. States with the most people in financial distress. Kansas is the state with the most people in financial distress, according to Wallet Hub. Wallet Hub put together this chart. I assume that's done on a per capita basis. But Kansas is 1, Louisiana's 2, Florida's 3, Texas 4, California comes in at number 8 on that list. Missouri is 20th. How about that? The streetcar wants to unionize. But, man, the way this thing was packaged was just too good to be true by a local TV outlet. We'll share it with you to wrap up the show. Trust me, you'll have a good laugh at this one next.
from Lenexa to Lee Summit. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
So the streetcar has like a historic month because, well, there was this thing called the World Cup here. 700,000 riders. That's the number, up from about 160,000 riders in June of 2025. So it's not sustainable. It's not permanent. I don't even know how they calculate these numbers because there's no ticketing going on. So I don't know if there's a sensor or how they're even getting to this 700,000 number. I've wondered that for 8.5 years now of doing the show, how they calculate streetcar numbers when you don't have tickets to collect and try to get a good idea of what you've got in terms of ridership. But listen, do I think they're goosing the numbers? Absolutely. Do I have the evidence of that? No, that's just my gut. They're goosing the numbers. But okay, great. Good month, big month, World Cup here, June, whatever. Now the story from Channel 41 is that the folks who work for the streetcar, who are not city employees, they are private employees through Herzog. That's the company that employs them. They make, on average, about $25 an hour, works out to about $50,000 a year. That's before overtime, which is time and a half, as I understand it. And they do 10-hour shifts. So I would imagine they do 4 days on, 3 days off, 10-hour shifts, like a lot of shift work does. Sometimes nurses do that, or they do 3/12s, whatever it might be. So this was the story on Channel 41 last night. It was quite a package.
I'm an operator, and so I'm in the cab, ding, 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 honking at people, they're sitting on the tracks like they're not supposed to be or stuff like that.
Mark, you're killing me. If only people could see you right now. If only this audience could see you on the other side of the glass.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right.
10-hour shifts. Jared loves his job.
We get to see the city like nobody else gets to see it.
He can also tell
Packed.
People love to ride.
If we continue to grow, I think it's important that we have guarantees. We want to make sure that we have consistent, scheduled, some sort of breaks. Our breaks aren't guaranteed.
You have a voice in the workplace if you just stand up.
That's where Teamsters 955 President Jerry Wood comes in. He plans to represent 70 streetcar employees.
They're growing quickly.
And every minute counts.
But if we're busy and that car's running 9 minutes late, that layover period at UMKC is gone, which cuts into a bathroom break, which cuts into your lunch break.
Okay, just stop right here, and then I'll keep this package going at 41. So basically, if the train's backed up, the guy's got to hit the head. He's cutting into his lunch break and everything else. So what's the answer to that? If you're saying I've got to unionize to fit in taking a leak, then what do we do here? Do you have a setup where the trains are now no longer on time? Do you have a backup train operator to start your shift if you don't get your full half-hour lunch break? Like, the answer here is not, if the train's delayed, I can't go to the bathroom without losing some time from my lunch break. The answer doesn't need to be, I must become a union member. I must join the Teamsters. Like, I don't know. It seems to me like regular people can come together and be like, hey, listen, boss, I've got this issue here. Sometimes we're running a few minutes late. I want to get in my lunch break. It's a 10-hour shift. I got to hit the head. Like, let's just figure out a way to make this work. Oh, yeah. I mean, that seems like a very reasonable request. Now, if you're telling me that the bosses, the company, Herzog in this case, won't play ball and is like, no, you get it back out there. We're grinding you to the ground. Boy, if that's what they're going to do to you, then, you got a decision to make. You can always find something else to do. I don't think that would be good management because you want to keep your good employees happy. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, during my whatever it is, half-hour lunch break on this 10-hour shift, I want to eat. I want to hit the head. I'm getting backed up sometimes. What do we do about it? Oh, yeah, okay. That's not an unreasonable conversation to have. The answer is not just let's run to the Teamsters. That doesn't seem like the play.
Want to see a pay increase and firm set break times.
Not many people know that we work for a company called Herzog. We don't work for the city. We don't work for the the Streetcar Authority.
I called Herzog's Kansas City GM. He said they won't be answering any of my questions. The KC Streetcar Authority says it values its employees and respects the ongoing legal process. Streetcar workers will vote to make the union official next month. If that passes, then contract negotiations begin.
I don't think it's a question of if it's going to happen. I think it's a question of when it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen. When Streetcar grows, employees can also grow as well.
All right. That's nice. When Streetcar grows, employees can also grow as well. Everyone wants you to grow. Everybody wants you to grow. Okay? We're all good with that. The question is, how do you do it? And even Mayor Lucas, I asked him about it this morning, and to paraphrase the mayor, he basically was like, yeah, we're not going to be taking on 70 new employees for the streetcar. We're not going to do it. But I think that's the end goal here. They want to be city employees. Nice little pension, probably better benefits, even though they do have benefits through Herzog. It's all about that pension, baby. That's what they want to get their hands on. All right.
Ding, 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 ding.
There you go. Get that pension going. Did I hear that you did a little mashup of two of our funnier drops of the day, Mark?
Yeah, I heard he wasn't allowed to use the restroom while he was driving or something.
Is that right?
Ding, 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 ding.
Chuck Schumer into the streetcar conductor. Choo choo. Is that what they call them? Conductors, drivers? What do they use?
Yeah.
Officially a conductor? All right. Well, have a great rest of your Thursday. Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled is next. We're back tomorrow morning at 6 on KCMO.
Ding, 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 ding.